jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to, hey! Jingle bells, Batman smelt, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile lost the wheel, and the Joker got away.
Welcome to Batcast 66, the podcast where we watch every single episode of the Batman's 1966 television show and talk about it. But today, we're not talking about it. Today, we're talking about the 1992 Batman theatrical feature, Batman Returns. It's a Christmas special.
Yay!
I am a man and I have a name. It's Kendall.
I am also a man and I have a name, and it's Scott.
I am not a man, but I do have a name, and it's Kayla.
So Batman Returns.
Hey, did you watch this when you were a kid in 1996?
Oh yeah, I saw this one in the theater.
Or 92, sorry. I can't believe I said 96. I don't know where that.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
66, 96.
Yeah, that might have been where it's from. Yeah, I did. It's the 30th anniversary. Did I say that already? I don't know.
Yeah, it's the 30th anniversary. The movie takes place at Christmas. It's Christmas time. So it was like we were discussing potentially doing a Christmas special, and like this one just kind of made sense. So here we are. And I have not watched this movie in like 20 years. And I probably won't watch it again for another 20 years, if I'm being honest, at the top of the show.
Dang.
But you know, I didn't dislike revisiting this. But I didn't watch this in theaters when I was a kid, but man, I remember the marketing blitz for it.
Yeah, so I guess we should we start with that? Like what's your experience? What's your memories of this movie?
So obviously when we were kids, Batman 89 was like the biggest thing ever. And we all watched that. And then I remember seeing like going to like my movie theater and seeing like posters and trailers and stuff for this and being like, I don't know, this looks kind of not fun. And I remember but I remember it being everywhere, like all kinds of like McDonald's toys, commercials. I think there was another round of cereal for this. I remember the marketing for it being like way bigger than 89. Now, to be fair, I was like 7 versus 4. So I probably was more aware of like marketing stuff in general in 1992. But I remember it being everywhere and just like I was not interested in watching it, at least not in theaters. I did eventually see it on VHS, or it might have been playing on TV. I don't remember which.
I also remember the marketing. Batman 89 was insane, like paved the way for the modern comic book movie. And with the sequel, they saw an opportunity to make even more money. And you kind of can see that in the film itself. It's much more toyetic than Batman 89 was. And yeah, it was everywhere. I saw it in theaters. I thought it was rad. I still enjoy it. Though I don't think it's not without its problem.
So what about you, Kayla?
I have very vague memories of watching it as a kid because my brother and my dad were really into it. But I will say that like even being like a very tiny child and not remembering much of the movie, I can tell you that Danny DeVito's Penguin was like implanted in my integral memories as a human being.
Yeah, I'll say I think he's either the best part or at least the most interesting part of the movie.
Yeah,
definitely. I would say he's the standout performer.
Yeah, he's my favorite part of the
movie. I do too, but I wasn't sure how you guys were feeling.
Oh yeah, he by far.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, him in anything steals the show for me.
Yeah. Like I like that Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to take this episode a little bit different than the way we did our last special and our normal episodes. It's really long to just go scene by scene.
Yeah, a full theatrical length movie would take a long time for us to recap the way we usually do. At least Scooby-Doo was like, what, 20 minutes? You know, like
It was 40 minutes.
Was
and
it 40 minutes? So it's
felt
not
so long.
Yeah.
That felt so long for a lot of reasons.
but it's not so much more different than our normal like a normal episode of Batman 66.
Yeah. But, I do kind of want to touch on certain things. We'll be describing the movie in a vague order, just so we don't miss anything we really, really like.
Yeah, and then I guess spoiler warning, but like this movie's 30 years old, so like sorry.
Just in case. Maybe someone only knows Batman from the Batman.
Yeah, maybe someone only knows Batman from our podcast.
Yeah.
That's true. Are we
Yeah.
allowed to critique? What are we supposed to? I don't want to mess up the flow of Batcast 66.
I mean, you can definitely say what you like, what you don't.
Yeah,
like.
that's part of the fun is the discussion, that comes from what you like, what you don't like, different thoughts and opinions. But yeah, we'll probably just do a quick flyby view of the events of the movie, and then I think we'll just kind of jump into it.
Yeah. So should we take it from the top?
Yeah, let's take it from the top.
Cool. Yeah, we open, I believe it's 33 years ago.
Yeah, it definitely was over 30 because I remember thinking, I was like, oh, I'm older than the Penguin in this movie.
We go to a mansion, or a manor, if you will, Cobblepot Manor. And staring out the window is Pee Wee Herman.
And who's the wife?
The wife is played by I forget the name, but it's his love interest in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Right.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Both people who've, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, directed by Tim
movie.
Burton.
Yeah.
You know how he is. He loves to reuse actors.
I think a lot of directors tend to do that, which is fine.
Especially, I mean, I feel dirty calling him this, but especially auteur directors.
Yeah, we'll get into. I have opinions on Tim Burton that have changed over the years, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a horrible baby. It
He's a
disgusts
monster baby.
them.
Yeah.
I mean, the doctor is gagging as he leaves the delivery room.
Yeah, the nurse,
She's weeping.
yeah, she's like running from the room. Yeah. The Penguin, that's their baby.
Yeah.
And they throw it into the river.
And we are paused on the scene. We have it just playing in the background. We're paused on the scene of the zoo, right? It's an abandoned zoo.
He eventually floats into a zoo, I think.
Yeah, but if you look at the silhouette, do you see the big penguin head? I didn't take time to actually look at it before. See it? So I feel like Tim Burton does cool stuff like that in his scenery.
Is that the zoo though?
Or is it
Because
just in a theme park.
this is 33 years later.
Oh, this is 33 years earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So what do we think it is? Because there's all of these ducks and stuff too, which they come back.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's a very Tim Burton-esque scenery.
But yeah, anyway, they throw him in the river to drown him because he's a horrible monster and ate their cat, or whatever that scene was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he ate their
He
cat.
sure did. And I will hold that against him.
In a very interesting choice, Baby Oswald is we just follow his journey down through the sewer as the Danny Elfman score plays.
Yeah.
Which again, Tim Burton.
Yeah, that Elfman score is, iconic, very closely associated with Batman thanks to the animated series.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, we flash forward to the present day after it says, Batman returns. I forget exactly where it starts up after that, actually.
So it starts, it's in the Gotham Square, the main square of the city, which is kind of the big city set piece. We come back here a lot.
Yeah, it's their village square, it's their Hill Valley set with the clock tower. Yeah.
And there's this giant Christmas tree and everything.
Yeah, so we're at the
Yeah, it's the Christmas tree lighting. Yeah.
Yeah, Alfred is out.
Damn, I love Alfred in this movie. I actually think I retract my statement, and I think Alfred is the best part of this movie. And I will explain once we get to it.
Yeah, his name's Michael Go, right?
He's great.
Yeah, another guy who pops up in another Tim Burton flick. His final role is actually in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's old here. He is extremely old in that movie.
The Sleepy Hollow was like within the next 10 years after this.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like I want to say that's like the early
Why?
2000s. I like remember that. I think we're like middle school or high school.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Like, remember that's like early Johnny Depp, which again, Edward Scissorhands, you know.
yeah. So yeah, it's here we're kind of introduced to two of the big players. Of course, we have Michelle Pfeiffer playing Selena Kyle, and Christopher Walken playing Maxwell Shrek.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he's got a donkey and everything.
A character, I believe he was created for this movie.
Yeah, as far as I know, he wasn't anything after this. I wouldn't be shocked if they like made him a character in the comics at some point after this movie.
So, do you all know why Maxwell Shrek is in this movie?
No, I have a theory, but I'm sure it's very wrong.
Well, hit me with your theory because I'll drop
Is
it.
he supposed to be like Maxie Zeus because he does like power stuff, and they call him Maxie a couple of times?
No, you're very wrong.
I figured I was very wrong.
Is it because Christopher Walken really likes Batman and they just made up a character so he'd be in the movie?
Great guess, but no. So let's go back in time a little bit to Batman 89.
All right.
Batman 89 laid the seed for a future Batman villain with Billy D. Williams, Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Movie came out. Someone at Warner Brothers had a problem with Harvey Dent being black.
Oh, come on.
So this movie was started production. Billy D. Williams signed a contract to be in this movie as Harvey Dent. Spoiler warning, we're going to skip to the end. Do you remember how Maxie dies in this movie?
He got like electrocuted to death, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, an accident that would have...
Oh, it would have left him scarred. Oh.
Oh, so they were
So
setting.
he would have been a
it
third
up?
movie villain, would have been Two-Face.
Yeah, which the third movie villain was Two-Face, but just not the
But it
same
wasn't
Two-Face.
Billy.
Oh, yeah, the worst interpretation of Two-Face ever.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Billy D. Williams all signed up to be in this movie, and then they were just like, no.
That's so messed up.
Yeah.
So this character is
He's
supposed to be
great.
Harvey Dent.
And they picked Tommy Lee Jones instead. That's who is Two-Face, right?
mhm.
In Batman Forever.
Weird
Batman
choice.
Forever is the worst of the four, in my
Weird
opinion.
choice.
But
Yeah. Batman Forever is by far the worst.
Wait, is that the one with Mr. Freeze too?
no,
That's Batman and Robin.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of people will
I
say
love that
is
one.
the worst.
I like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so they had to create this Maxwell Shrek character. That's why his like motivations feel very weird.
Yeah, I can see elements where that would work as Harvey Dent, but it's all the Catwoman stuff that doesn't gel with him for me then.
Mm.
I
'Cause,
mean,
like, I can see the mayor plot being something that like a district attorney would get involved with.
yeah,
makes
I don't think
sense.
it's supposed to be like a one-to-one,
I'm sure it's not. It's just
Yeah.
like
but
if that's the only thing that like still remains from that, that's weird.
yeah, it's Billy D. Williams made a lot of money not being in this movie.
Yes, I think they still had to pay him, right?
They had to pay him, and then they had to pay him more for like
buy him out.
breaking the contract or
Mm.
whatever.
Okay.
So yeah,
I did forget about that, but I do remember it now that you're talking about it.
yeah, and that I really think that affects the quality of this movie.
This movie definitely feels like more studio than Batman 89.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Like you're talking about it, like you mentioned the toyetic elements, like that's a studio thing.
Totally.
And that's only going to get worse as this series goes on, like infamously.
Yeah. Max Schreck, I don't know what he owns.
He seems to control, so he has, I assume probably his fingers in a lot of pies, because he's clearly got like a huge department store like Macy's at some point. But like his big project in the beginning is he's trying to get like a power plant made that'll like be like super disruptive, because then Bruce Wayne gets involved and like tries to stop that from happening.
He's also kind of like a wannabe crime boss, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's dirty, and corrupt.
Oh well, yeah, we find out a lot.
Yeah, over the course of the flick.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, the tree lighting is explodinated by like goons.
The Red Triangle circus gang.
Yeah, it's like they're like clowns, which makes you think Joker.
Yeah, it's such a weird call to have like clowns.
Yeah, right? What is
like specifically when your previous flick had a clown villain.
Maybe they
I get that they're doing the thing where the Penguin was like raised in the circus as a freak, so like it's circus folk that like he knows, but like again, yeah, because it's clowns and we just had a clown villain, and they have yet to establish that with the Penguin in this movie. It kind of makes sense they're not Penguin themed, for his scheme, but
like, yeah, it's weird because like we hear rumors of a disgusting penguin man.
Yeah, in the suit that lives in the sewers.
Or if you're gonna go the freak show route, which I'm sorry, that's not like my term, that's just the term. Like I feel like your lackeys would also be people that are like traditionally associated with that, like the bearded woman and like the person who can bend their body and contortionists and all that. Like I just feel like circus and freak show aren't interchangeable. Like they're two very different things. I don't know, it's weird. It's weird choice.
I guess Penguin just needed bodies,
I guess. But or like like maybe now that the Joker is in jail, all of his lackeys needed a job.
Maybe they were cheap now.
Where is he? Is he dead?
He fell off a building.
Yeah, he's coming back though. If you didn't see him actually die, right?
You saw his body on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. He's dead. Yeah, we saw him die.
Okay, so then all those people are out of work. So
yeah.
All right, I'll buy it. And they only have one costume.
Well, the Joker didn't have clown themed Batman.
Yeah, he took over like the mafia.
What? It's like, oh, we missed this opportunity in the first one, so let's just throw it in the second one.
Yeah. This movie makes like a single reference to the first one. Through the character of Vicky Vale.
Yeah, they mentioned Vicky Vale. Yeah.
Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which was his like love interest in the first movie.
Yeah. So anyway, the Red Triangle gang interrupts the tree lighting. They're causing all this trouble.
Steal the mayor's baby.
No, not yet.
Oh, that's not this part yet?
No.
So I watched it a couple days ago. It's already leaving my brain.
Batman, the Bat Commissioner Gordon gives the call to light up the bat signal. And we get this like kind of epic scene of the bat signal like being redirected into Bruce Wayne's study, which is a very like Tim Burton thing to happen.
Like all these shadows and stuff.
Well, it's also kind of reminds me of the Breakfast Machine in Pee-wee.
Just like a lot of like
contraptions.
Yeah. Tim Burton loves his contraptions.
Yeah, his Rube Goldberg machines.
And his wigs. I'm just reflecting on Christopher Walken's wig in this. It's something.
He looks great. Yeah, Batman shows up. This part is pretty cool. How did you feel about this like opening action scene?
It was all right.
It's
like
definitely a lot more.
It's a good showcase for like what Batman can do because it involves the Batmobile, a Batarang, him like punching dudes. There's like some goofy like joke like elements to it. Like, oh, you missed, but he didn't. He was just pulled a piece of the wall off the guy from behind him.
Oh yeah.
It was all right. As far as
Uh,
opening action scenes go for like this time.
I mean, they do a lot with these circus folk.
Yeah.
You get like a guy on a unicycle shooting an Uzi into the sky.
I mean, the city feels like a set more in this movie than it did in 89.
Oh, totally.
I really feel that in this scene. Well, like basically every scene here because it is just a reuse set over and over.
and they're using I feel like they hired a fire breather, and so they're like, let's put this guy in every scene of this because
Oh yeah, why not?
it's like pretty sick. So I feel like there's a lot of fire getting breathed on people.
But yeah, we have this scene, the you missed scene. A clown like holds Selena Kyle kind of hostage to get Batman to back off or something.
Yeah.
And after Batman dispatches of this guy, we get a short scene with Selena. We saw her briefly in Max Schreck's office. She's kind of like a bumbling secretary.
Yeah.
And here we see her, she's real hard on herself for kind of getting kidnapped, for being the helpless woman.
Yeah. Because she's just a failure at everything.
Yeah.
We'll get into it later. I do not like this version of Selena Kyle and Catwoman.
Me either, Scott.
All right.
I feel differently.
I think we'll get into it later, but there's elements that could have worked and they don't use them.
At the end of all this, Shrek is kidnapped and brought into the sewer. And this is our introduction to Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Perfect casting.
So perfect.
His
Yeah.
first, we first see him, he's like eating a raw fish and he's just like, hi.
Yeah,
He's
it's
just
awesome.
disgusting.
Yeah. I really like him.
He's at his best when they let the Penguin be like just depraved and awful, like a terrible person.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, and as we're like getting to this first scene of Penguin, it's doing the classic like Tim Burton sweep over the like scenery.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like
That's a
they
very
always
Tim
take
Burton thing.
The camera and kind of like twist it around so you really get the view of the whole area before they like take you into whatever it is.
Yeah. So the Penguin's lair is underneath. It's in the sewer, but under an abandoned zoo.
Yeah.
And we get that cool, like you see it in Beetlejuice.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in Edward Scissorhands, I'm sure. Yeah, like in the beginning, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just a nice lay of the land. Even though we don't really spend too much time in the zoo, it's cool to see.
Well, yeah, because I think, yeah, exactly. Like we're spending so much time with the Penguin in the sewer that the whole premise of the Penguin is ridiculous. Like when you really think about it.
Yeah, no, it's really
why is he
stupid
surrounded by penguins? Like you kind of forget.
Because he's the Penguin.
Right.
Those are his babies.
Right, but like it's an abandoned zoo, so that's why there's penguins there. But you don't really like think about it after a while because you're
Well,
just
it's like, well, hey, how's he feeding all the penguins?
okay.
Who's cleaning up after all of them?
It's in the sewer. Who's
I
cleaning up after anyone?
read about these penguins. All right.
And they're all puppet. Yeah, well, they're puppets.
No.
Yeah.
No.
There are real ones in there. They're
They
Emperor Penguins and Gen 2 Penguins.
paid thousands and thousands of dollars to hire a bunch of penguins, but they weren't the breed of penguin that they wanted. And the penguin breed that they got, they had to keep in a special air-conditioned trailer
Yeah.
on set for like what, like maybe like a few hours of shooting with them, and then they had to make like little costumes for each and every one of them. Like it's insane. And then they still weren't happy because they didn't have the penguins they wanted, so then they had to just dress people up.
Yeah, so my guess is,
Other
so they
penguins.
clearly wanted emperor penguins, which are a lot
Right.
bigger,
To
but like they
give
have
them
real
that
Gen
classic
2
look.
penguins in it. Yeah.
I just thought it was so ridiculous how much money they, I mean, I get it, you have to have the penguins, but it's just like, wow.
I'll be honest with you. Kind of, do you remember any other version of the penguin that has penguins?
I don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, this is the only version I know
Oh,
that
interesting. So it wasn't even necessary.
No.
So it's more like he's a penguin because he wears a penguin suit and is.
And like they made him like a flipper-handed monster in this for some reason.
But that's not his normal story.
No, he's just a guy.
He's just a guy who's like kind of.
and he has like a long nose.
Okay.
Yeah, like so they call him the penguin because he
Got it. See,
that
I
looks
told
like a
you
penguin
this version of Penguin is the only one that I know. It really made an impression on
like the first season of the animated series is inspired by these. So like he kind of looks like that, and then he gets away from that as that series goes on.
Yeah, but I guess even in that series,
His personality is
like,
very different.
Birds, just not
Yeah.
penguins.
It's just birds in general. Yeah.
Yeah, like that. He has like a pet condor that's like stealing stuff in that cartoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, Penguin kind of tells Shrek and the audience that he's aware that Shrek is a dirty businessman.
He's dumping like toxic chemical wastes and stuff.
Yeah, and the body parts of his old
Like business partner. Yeah.
So yeah, so we get that, Shrek isn't just a jerk, he's like a bad man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they tell him that they know all this just to keep it in the Christmas theme. They somehow knew that Max Shrek was going to come down to the. Did they kidnapped him? Okay.
Yeah.
And have like a theatrical stocking with his name on it, just so they can show him like his toxic waste. It's just very ridiculous. Like, who took the time to sit there and make a stocking for him just for this stunt,
Well, I mean, it's Christmas time, so they probably just got it.
Yeah.
Care.
I mean, people throw stuff out all the time.
It's Christmas time. You can get a stocking very easy.
A stocking's just a sock.
You're telling me that the penguin went into the craft store and just got a stocking with Max's name on it?
They got all this other shit for this crazy ass.
Dude, he's got a giant duck that he drives around. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Which I love.
I have feelings about it.
So yeah, the penguin here, he's like, oh, I just like want to get to know my parents.
I was abandoned as a baby.
Yeah, and I need your help. You're gonna set this up for me.
Yeah.
So
like, yeah, I think they're trying to make the audience like sympathetic to the penguin.
Yes.
Which to me does not work.
Well, yeah, very quickly we find out like Batman off the bat doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
And we see bits of like what he's doing because he's like, later on, he's going to be going through all the birth certificates.
Yeah.
Which
eventually goes into whatever his plan is he's doing right now. But it gets like derailed by this other plan for most of the movie. Not derailed, but like the other thing becomes what we focus on. This movie's very unfocused.
I agree with that. That's a really good word for it. I feel like the way that they edited the scenes together feels very like sloppy and kind of.
And there's too many
out of order.
There's too many antagonists as well.
Well, that's all superhero movies, I feel like.
I think that's all superheroes starting with this one. I think it started the trend where like the sequels you have to have more and more.
I agree. Well, you could argue Superman too.
Yeah, but like the really Zod is the main bad guy. The other two guys are just an extension of him.
But Lex Luthor's still there.
Yeah. I don't even remember Luthor doing much in that movie, though. It's been a while since I watched the Superman movies.
Is that the one where he lives under the ground?
Lex Luthor?
Yeah.
That's the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, actually, you were saying the plan gets confused. How do you mean?
Well, like, so he takes down this list of names, and then they don't mention it for like an hour until after all the mayor shit goes sideways.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not coming right out and saying that that's his master plan.
It's just one of those things. Like, I do think as a general audience, like, well, it feels, I don't know, it doesn't gel well as like the narrative.
So
in my
I
opinion,
will say that on, like, when I first saw this, the firstborn son thing kind of comes out of nowhere.
yeah.
But on this rewatch, it's like, oh, obviously he's getting the names. Later on, Catwoman like picks up the names, and he's like,
no.
Yeah, he's like, shut that down.
Yeah.
You foxy minx.
Yeah, whatever he says.
Yeah. After Max and Penguin agree to work together, Selena Kyle, she gets home.
And her dirty little
She has a
apartment.
funny joke
Yeah.
where she opens her door and says, honey, I'm home. Oh, I forgot I'm not married.
Yeah.
So Selena Kyle, you don't like her. Do you like her, Kayla?
I like her as Selena Kyle, but then I don't like her as Catwoman.
I think I get what they're going for with this character, like, interpretation, where like, oh, the world is like kind of like crushed her, and then she's like, she finally is pushed too far, and then like she snaps and like fights back. However, it's so over the top how pathetic and sad her life is.
I know, and then she's like this
Catwoman,
gorgeous person, you know?
Yeah, and then she gets thrown out of a building, somehow doesn't die, gets brain damage, and they like basically refer to that a lot in the movie, becomes a Catwoman, and is so like hyper over sexualized.
Right.
Like, it makes me extremely uncomfortable that this, like, she's kind of got the mind of a child in some ways. And it's like,
so
I don't like it. And it adds nothing to this already bloated movie.
So I disagree.
I don't like the head injury thing, because like if they're going for the, like, if she's like, I'm taking shit into my own hands and she chooses to become Catwoman, versus like it takes her agency away where she's like, oh, I'm just fucking crazy now because I'm a Batman villain.
So hold up.
Yeah.
You think that like she's fighting back against the world? I see it differently. Like the world is unkind to her, as we see. She hates herself.
Yeah.
And Catwoman is like her, like trying to deal with how much she is disgusted by herself.
How so?
So I think it kind of like all comes out. There's a scene later in the movie where a thug is like robbing a woman in an alleyway, and we see a silhouette with like two pointed ears, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, Batman's here to save this lady, but it's actually Catwoman. And Catwoman like fucks up this dude, like slices his face with her claws. And then the woman's like, oh my God, thank you so much. And she attacks the woman. And that's not because she's crazy, but she's like, you are so pathetic. You're just like walking around the streets at night doing.
Well, that's like the only scene where like that happens. Where I think that's where where you can go for with that. If that's what they're going for, I don't think they did a very good job of it, of like conveying that.
Well, I think there's other things. The dinner scene, she slowly becomes more and more unraveled as the movie goes on. But yeah, I can definitely see everything she's doing is like kind of a reaction to herself. Like she hates the Selena Kyle who got pushed out of the window. That's the way I read it. She's not so much, I mean, she is doing things to like try to take revenge against like Shrek. Like she wants to kill Shrek. But she mostly hates herself. And I feel like whenever she has a breakdown, that's very.
I get that she's more just insane thing because like all of a sudden she's like, I gotta kill Batman. Like she gets involved in more than just the Shrek thing. She
But,
teams
like,
up with the Penguin for a while.
Exactly. She wants to kill Batman. What reason would she have for that? Other than
Batman
the
saved
fact
her, is
that
what you're
he
saying.
saved her.
And that she kind of has this uncomfortable like attraction to him, I think is also probably part of that as well.
I don't know. Like she I don't know, she like
also
eats a
would-
live bird. Like she does a lot of stupid, weird shit that like is, and like they play up to like she fell out of building, like she's got a big like wound on her head.
Yeah, no,
Part of
I'm
the-
not saying that
Yeah.
she's not supposed to be played up as like insane with brain damage, but I think there's more to it than she's just doing crazy stuff. I think everything she's doing is a reaction.
If that's what they're, like I said, if that's what they're going for, I don't think they get that through very well.
Because
And like I think you could cut the Catwoman and basically the Max Shrek plotline from this. And I think if they refocused on the Penguin, I think it would be a much stronger movie. Or I think give Selena Kyle more agency in why she became Catwoman and what she's doing, and not like this violent, sexy toddler that they're going for. Like I think that would be better. Because like she goes crazy, cuts up a jacket and makes skin tight like bondage gear to run around the city.
Wait. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I hate her
Well,
costume.
well, let's go to that though.
Yeah, we don't have to go through the plot point. Like she's one of the big problems I have with the movie is how they handle Catwoman.
But also, like, before she cuts up that jacket, she's destroying all this like stuff in her house.
Yeah, her weird "hello there" sign that she has for some reason now says hell here.
Huge issue with that.
It's so stupid.
Because if you're painting her as this meek, like scattered, like bookwormish type, for you to just have like this random haphazard, like weird sign that I feel like is a very like confident choice.
It seems like art school student, you know.
Yeah, just so that you can then have it there so she can shatter specific letters so that it says hell here for like 1 second. Like I just felt like it was very corny and like somebody was like, this is gonna be really cool.
Yeah, it's not corny in a good way. Because there's corny in a good way. That's what this whole podcast is about.
Right.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were like they really tried to force a lot of stuff for her and it just doesn't come together for me.
I mean, that's another part of the movie that doesn't work for me is the clashing tones of it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it tries to be like 89 had heightened fantastical elements to it, like fairy tale elements, like Joker's 2-foot long gun and things. But like it was more gritty and realistic, for lack of a better term. And this movie tries to have that, and then it has these really corny, campy elements.
Well, 89 is like a noir.
What's up?
89 is like a noir movie.
But it still has like some heightened like fairy tale comic booky stuff in
Of
it.
course, but most of that
Yeah.
is from the Joker, which makes sense.
Yeah. There's some elements
this movie
with Batman.
definitely has some tonal clashes.
Yeah, I mean, there's some elements of that with Batman, like and campy things that happen. Like when he flies the Batwing and he goes up in front of the moon for no reason, so it makes the bat signal logo. Like there's a couple of like corny like camp elements in that as well. But like that's much smaller in that movie versus this one where I feel like it's almost 50-50 in some ways. And I think the Penguin like has a lot of issues with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I love Selena Kyle. I think Catwoman. I get what you're saying, how like her playful sexiness comes off as like a little like
It's like,
juvenile.
yeah, and it's like a weird, like, because you know this movie was directed by men and written by men.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't come off as like any form of empowering or anything.
No.
If that's what they were trying to do. And like for 30 years ago, I don't think that was what they were trying to do. They're not like, she's going to take control of her life and be a girl boss. Like, that's not what they were thinking. Especially not with that costume and a whip.
I don't think I don't think that's what they're going for at all, though. She is using her like sex appeal, like in that the way like people are underestimating her because of it. Like we get the scene with the two security guards. Oh, I don't know whether to put her under arrest or fall in love.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things where like, oh, she's so like everyone's like lusting after her the whole movie. Like, I don't know. I think it's pointless and it makes me like kind of uncomfortable to watch.
Gotcha. I don't know. Maybe it's because you're Ace.
Maybe, but like Catwoman's always kind of had like a sex appeal and like a flirty relationship with Batman.
Yeah,
Like,
this is just like a different take on her.
Yeah, and I don't think it works. Personally.
No, I agree with Scott. I
Yeah.
think that it's
Well, that's because you're a
definitely
woman and you have to
catering-
hate every woman, right?
No, but it's definitely catering to like a male audience.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me that a meek, yes, she's like gone through this change, right? But before that, she was such a conservative, quiet person,
Mhm.
right?
Who the world walked on and she allowed
Right.
it to happen.
But you're still telling me that like fundamentally, I don't believe that somebody who's like that, like, yes, if they're like literally like at their breaking point where they're going to now like shit on the world, is going to then go and make themselves an outfit like that.
And like she's clearly
I don't buy
insane.
it.
Like there's parts where like she's licking her hand and rubbing it on her head and stuff. Like she's not. I don't think that's what they're going for. I think she's supposed to be like crazy sexy.
Yeah.
Whatever
Like,
that
I just
like
don't
trope
think
is.
that she, even if you're not, and even if you're in,
It's
I feel
the
like
thing.
if anything,
Yeah.
you would go in the opposite direction where you're like badass in a way where like your femininity has nothing to do with it.
It reminds me
You
kind of
dress
like
yourself
what,
in a
yeah.
skin tight cat
It
costume.
reminds me kind of like what they do with Harley Quinn in like the new movies and stuff.
So, but the reason she's using her sex appeal is because, granted, it's Michelle Pfeiffer who is attractive.
Yes.
But the Selena Kyle character we meet in the beginning is not supposed to have that. And I think that comes across a lot. That doesn't come across as well in 2022 when like people can dress like Selena Kyle and like that is seen as like an attractive style. Like back then, she's just a nerd with glasses. She's a mess. Like that's not what sexy was in 1992. Selena Kyle hates herself, so she's going to like be the antithesis of herself.
And don't misunderstand me. I do get why you're getting those vibes in that. I have a feeling it's probably we're both right, and just there needed to be another pass with the script to iron some of this stuff out. Because like the turnaround like with 3 years and like a special effects heavy action movie.
No,
like
very true.
Yeah, clearly I think this movie was fast tracked.
And well, definitely, because in between Batman 89 and this movie, Tim Burton made Edward Scissorhands, I believe.
I don't remember where Edward Scissorhands and the other movies fall in the timeline.
But also while this movie is coming out, Tim Burton is like giving notes on Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, definitely this isn't receiving like full attention.
Yeah.
And was very rushed.
And for the record, I prefer if they played up the angle you are referring to. I think if it was more that and less what I got from it, I would like it a lot more. I don't hate the concept of Catwoman in this movie or that idea of her adopting this character to kind of like take back at the world as like a parallel to Batman. I think could have been really interesting.
So that's another thing I think about this movie.
Yeah.
The villain choices.
Yeah, all three of them kind of like work as like foils to Batman.
So I feel like, yeah, they're like Penguin and Catwoman are like the Penguin is a distortion of Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Like
the son of a rich family, or
the son of
and then who is orphans, but obviously in a different way.
Yes, he's not orphaned because
his parents were killed.
His parents were killed. Yeah.
His parents tried to kill him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A Catwoman is like the same thing, like this, like kind of
took something
like
from
the
me,
insanity of Batman.
Yeah. Because Batman's not the picture of mental health either.
Yeah. And like you really get into that later during the dance scene.
Yeah. And then Max Shrek is like a businessman, millionaire, got like socialite, but is like corrupt and a jerk.
Yes. Yeah. It's which is, I mean, I love that idea.
Yeah.
Like everyone is like distorted reflection of some aspect of Batman.
Yeah. Because I think we've talked about it when we talked about Batman v Superman. And I think Lex Luthor is a good pick for a villain for those two because he can work as parallels for both Batman and Superman. But like they obviously did not capitalize on that at all. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
About Batman v Superman. But yeah, but again, that goes into the problem where like I think there's too much in the pot in this movie. We don't need three like antagonists.
Very true.
I think if you took any one of them out, I think you could have made a stronger movie regardless. And obviously, since Danny DeVito's Penguin in this is the best part, I'd rather you focused on the Penguin part. But Michelle Pfeiffer could have been a rad Catwoman in a different movie, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think she is a rad Catwoman.
But
yeah. The Penguin, he stages a kidnapping for the mayor's baby.
Yeah. And that's his like introduction to Gotham.
Yeah. So like a member of the circus gang.
Who is played by the actor that plays Mac's dad on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Really?
Danny DeVito series, yeah.
Interesting. What a strange parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Penguin's like, oh, go steal this baby and then just hand it to me in the sewer.
Yeah, like
pretend I beat you up.
Yeah, you hear him beat him up in the sewers, then he just kind of emerges with this baby. This horrible sewer monster, man.
Yeah, but the city loves him for it.
Yeah.
He's on the news. He's like, oh, I just want to know who my parents are. And we see Bruce kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
But Bruce being Bruce, he starts looking into this and finds out that there was a circus that had a penguin boy as a sideshow attraction.
Yeah.
It makes him a little suspicious of the whole thing.
Well, like I think he was looking into the circus and like they travel around and like crime and like stuff seems to follow them. Right? Or is that they reveal that later?
I don't know. I know that after he sees the penguin on TV, he's like looking into the circus, reading an article about like how they have a penguin boy. And yeah, I think like
because he's suspicious that like he's like the penguin's in charge of that one gang. I can't prove it yet.
Yes. Yeah.
Or is at least maybe not in charge of, but he's at least involved with it.
And yeah, something happened with one of the circuses that they left before Yeah, there's some like crime related thing in those papers he's looking through.
But yeah, so this kicks off like Penguin as like a beloved public figure. That's when they let him go through the archives of like the birth certificates and stuff. I forget what that department is called. But like, yeah, they let him go through that on his own. So he's just taking down names as you know that we see. Eventually, he finds his parents' gravestones, and we get the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, this scene stuck with me from watching it in the theaters.
And I think it stuck with me too, because I remember when we hung out in high school, we would reference this every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. He discovers his identity and he says, I am a man, I have a name.
Yeah, he's speaking to like, you know, as he's in the graveyard, like the paparazzi and the media are all outside, like, oh my God, what's happening? Are you upset your parents you'll never get your closure with them? He's like, I'm a man, I have a name. It's basically he just goes on like why he wants just the human like dignity and humanity, even though he's this horrible little monster.
So one thing I think the movie could have done a better job of explaining is Batman is like, I think he already knows who his parents are.
Yeah, I think he already figured that. I think he already figured it out, but they don't make it very obvious.
Yeah. So yeah, they could have done a little more work there. The cemetery is pretty cool looking. Very Tim Burton.
Very Tim Burton-y cemetery.
Yeah, and after that, we get the Catwoman scene.
Oh, so no, because I know we get Bruce Wayne confronting Max Schreck about like shutting down his power plant thing, which is why he gets the idea to like recall the mayor and install the Penguin so he can get his like laws changed. Which is kind of a fun scheme. And I know it's sort of, I don't know if it's inspired by, but like there's a similar one later in 66 show.
Oh,
Penguin
yeah.
running for mayor. And it's one of my favorite episodes. Obviously, they do it in a very different way because in that he's running against Batman to be mayor and he's winning and it's amazing. But yeah, and that's where like Penguin's plot kind of like stalls out, like at least his scheme, not like the Penguin plot, but like is he still involved in the movie a whole bunch?
Yeah,
I kind of like build him up like as a public persona, you know.
Yeah, I feel like he like kind of, gets a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
And then like when it falls apart, he like immediately goes back to his original plan.
Yeah.
This movie feels like a series of episodes. Don't you think it's like kind of like broken up? Like, okay, this happens and this happens.
That's what I was meaning when I was saying I was like unfocused earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, we get a scene in Max Schreck's office. Selena reveals to Max that she's alive.
Yeah.
But like in front of Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm. And then they start, being flirty or whatever. Because it's Bruce Wayne and a lady. That's what we expect.
Yeah, we get a fun scene where Bruce acts like familiar with Selena because he's met her as Batman.
Yeah.
But then he's like, he does something. He's like, oh, sorry, I mistook me for somebody else.
Yeah.
And then they're like, don't you mean you mistook you for somebody else?
Yeah.
A fun play on the duality between.
Can we talk in this? I want to compare Michael Keaton from this movie, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne / Batman from this to 89. I feel like he's barely in this movie.
In Returns?
In Returns, yeah. Because like I think he's got a lot more to do in 89. I guess, and also there's less characters as well.
There is less characters.
Like I feel like he doesn't have much to do other than punching dudes in this movie.
That's true. Uh in 89, I feel like
I don't know. I feel like he's less like charming and involved in this one, or less charismatic.
he
I don't know. I just wanted to get your feel on that.
so he shows up very late in 89.
Yeah.
Like you don't see Bruce Wayne for a while.
But like I feel like there's he's way more memorable. Like Batman in general is way more memorable in 89 than versus this movie.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely is kind of taking a back seat.
Which is this is a movie where he's returning to, you know?
He's very like reactionary. He doesn't like really want anything.
Yeah. And he's like his investigations are kind of like I'm just looking at microfiche and that's it.
Yeah, driving around,
Yeah.
hitting people with my car.
Yeah. It's like he's playing GTA.
I kind of appreciate how ruthless Batman is in this.
Yeah, I'm not like a crazy purist where it's like because he blows a dude up at some point. Like he killed people in the first movie. Like if that's what kind of tone you're going for, it's not the biggest deal. Like this would be a big deal if this was Adam West's Batman doing that stuff.
For sure.
But like, you know, I don't mind different interpretations doing that. It just depends on like how well it's done or how well it's, you know, executed, which in this it's fine. There's a lot of cartoony elements in this, which goes into like its tonal problems. I think it has.
About Bruce Wayne? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you don't really get to see a lot of him as Bruce Wayne in the movie.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like most of the scenes with Batman, I'm sure, is a stunt double, you know.
But when he is Bruce Wayne, like I do think I don't know. I like his goofiness.
I don't know. I wish there was like an equivalent to the
Be,
Let's
like,
Gets Nuts scene from the first movie.
Cold, like rich person who doesn't really have a personality, but I feel like they give him that. Like I think so often when they depict him as Bruce Wayne, he's just very serious. So I think he has like a lot of good jokes in this one.
And I think I don't know. I think he gets stuff to do. It's like because he's like his love interest instead of Vicky Vale is a villain.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's bad in the movie. I just wanted to get your opinion on it. It was just something I was thinking about while watching the movie.
I think like his and Selena's relationship could have been like, because really they like go on like what 1-2 dates.
Yeah. Excuse me.
And the one date is like pretty much the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's so weird because
Like, all right, so he doesn't have a character arc in this, which is fine, whatever.
yeah, Batman rarely does.
Yeah, so I don't think he did in the last movie either.
I don't think he does in much of anything.
I think he does in Batman Begins and The Batman.
Yeah, like when it is exploring his origins.
Yeah.
But that's really it. Once he's established.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's not what I'm looking for. I feel like narratively he doesn't have as much to do. Like I feel like he just needs to be there to fight the bad guys.
Yes.
It's fine. But I mean that's a superhero story. But it doesn't have to be. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like again, I thought about it while I was watching it. And I can remember way more like Batman and Bruce Wayne like specific scenes from 89 versus this. Because I'm sure, you know, it's the two Michael Keaton performances we got and probably going to get because they keep canceling everything else he's showing up as Batman in.
Yeah.
You know, which is a shame, but because I think he's a fine Batman.
I like him.
Yeah.
I think like something about his eyes work really well as Batman.
Yeah, and that's the Tim Burton and like way he shoots and versus like that costume where it's really designed to like be in the shadows and like be kind of moody because like I know everyone makes fun of the fact he can't turn his head, but like that makes him forces him to do like big body sweeps to like look around and it looks really dramatic and neat.
Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
Especially in 89.
Yeah, 89. I think 89 because I had a lot more time to cook. I think visually is a more I don't want because there's a lot of cool visual stuff in this too. I don't want to put this movie down, but like it feels like a more complete package. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. We get this weird scene. I guess it's the other scene I remember from watching it in the theater.
I think I know what scene you're going to bring up.
Like Max kind of springs on the Penguin this whole mayoral campaign.
Yeah.
And the Penguin is like eating a fish.
Yeah. No, he brings him downstairs with the lure of a fish because
I don't know.
He's a weird penguin monster.
Like, I mean, I get that because he's like this supposed to be like this simple creature, but it's also like you're telling me that you can't just get fish all the time,
or he couldn't just eat penguin food.
Yeah. And just like, but anyway, yeah, like it's like a cobble pot for mayor, and
I'll be honest with you, I love their like propaganda posters.
Oh, they are pretty cool.
I kind of want one.
I feel like that is
it looks like the comic.
It looks I'm so sure that like if not that, like somebody riffed on that for a cover.
Oh, I'm sure.
Batman comics around this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's this fucking nerdy guy.
Yeah.
And Batman.
Penguin.
I don't know. He's just Penguin bites this dude's nose and he starts bleeding.
That's the other scene I also remember from when I was a kid because it kind of comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of nowhere.
Really violent and bloody.
And nobody really reacts to it in a realistic way.
Yeah, like almost immediately afterward, he's got like some groupies. They're like, we love the Penguin. And he like gets to grope them.
Yeah. Oh, the Penguin is such a creep in this.
But I think that is like a Tim Burton quality though. Like if you think about it, like Edward Scissorhands is essentially that, like this weird character that's like brought into the quote unquote like normal world and everybody just like automatically adores them, and nobody has like a normal reaction to it. They're kind of just like,
yeah, Tim Burton loves
they're accepting of it, and it's just like, okay, like this is a part of life now. Like
he's very clearly a kid that got
like
bullied a lot.
Position.
Well, yeah.
But I feel like it also kind of plays on this whole like idea of like how do I say, like at least in Edward Scissorhands, like this whole idea of like suburban America or like whatever, like don't want to cause a fuss, so you kind of just like go along with it and everybody's like happy-go-lucky all the time kind of thing. Like I guess he likes to juxtapose so that you're really drawing out the fact that it's like the quote normal people that are actually the weirdos who like kind of,
you know what
I mean?
I think
like
a broader
by that.
I think a broader point with this scene though, in jet like the whole scene, as soon as he walks down the stairs and before he goes back up and meets Catwoman. I don't remember if that's even this part where this scene goes into.
No,
the whole time
they haven't met yet.
Yeah, the whole time when Penguin's downstairs, when they first do this thing, is like I think when Danny DeVito's Penguin kind of comes alive, we're gonna be really slimy and creepy, like playing up the like, yeah, I'll be mayor, and like he gets to grope this woman while mumbling like, oh yeah, like, well, my constituents or whatever. Like I don't know, like it. That's when like I think the Penguin was like that more throughout the whole movie, like I think I would have been more into it.
Well, he's disgusting the whole movie.
Yeah, but he's disgusting like
he's
in
always
terms of
talking
like
about wanting
he's
to
always got
bang
slime
everyone.
coming out of him for some reason. But like I think if he was more like they got him to play up that part of the personality more, because they do try to, especially in the first half of the movie, they try to make him sympathetic. And I
Yeah,
think
but
if they
I
just
think
never
he's
tried.
putting on
that
a
show
yeah,
on, yeah.
he's
I
putting
understand
on a
that he
bit.
is, but like as an audience, we don't get to see a lot of this other part yet.
Yeah, but I think that's intentional. I think like because your first watch through the movie, you don't know what he's doing. You're meant. I mean, of course, going in, the Penguin is a bad guy.
Yeah.
But I think in the context of this movie, you're supposed to believe he is at least somewhat sympathetic.
Yeah.
But I think that goes to show that they don't do a really good job of like, I feel like there's, and like, I'm probably wrong about this, but like, I feel like there's no one scene, how like in a lot of movies, there'll be like one scene where it's like the villain is explicitly expressing like the plan. I feel like he doesn't have one of those. He's kind of like all over the place. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. And I don't know how many watch throughs it took me to like catch those little bits where it's like, oh, they are seeding that final plan.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things again. I think it's unfocused nature.
Yeah. But
Where that comes from.
Kayla, you brought up an interesting comparison to like Edward Scissorhands and the Penguin. Because like Edward Scissorhands is definitely meant to be Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm.
He's this weirdo
artist.
Yeah, but who like he comes out of hiding and everyone loves him.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know how to like kind of deal with that. And that is more apparent in the Edward Scissorhands, where like, the town kind of turns against him, but he's always good. The Penguin's a little different here. Like the Penguin is playing the town almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't even notice that. Good observation.
I mean, overall, do you guys like the Penguin in this? I think we said at the top that we like.
Oh yeah. I think that he's the reason to watch the movie.
I think if the movie was more campy with Jane DeVito as the Penguin, I would love it like a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's why it's like going back to Catwoman.
Yeah,
I feel like every interaction Catwoman has with the Penguin is just him basically like I don't want to use that word, but basically like molesting her with
he's like lusting after
words
her.
Essentially, instead of them like I feel like in other versions where I've seen like the Penguin and Catwoman like coming together on like a massive plan against Batman, like yes, there's always like this sexual component because like that's what Catwoman like does best, I guess, but at the same time like she is in control of all of those situations, so it doesn't feel so creepy.
Yeah,
but I genuinely like felt scared for her, like when the Penguin is talking to her, like I just wanted her to kick his ass.
So like, traditionally Catwoman is usually cool, collected, and in control of whatever situation.
Yeah, like she's using people to play out her plan, and that's why her being sexy works, because she's owning it. But in this particular version, I'm not buying that she is like in control of that part of herself.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I've said before, I do think she is using her sex appeal intentionally, but so like Catwoman doesn't really want anything. Like she's not a criminal. She doesn't have like, she's not trying to steal money. She just is this like chaotic force who like wants to kill Max Shrek and Batman.
Yeah.
Two people who've kind of in her eyes, like, have made her feel weak.
Yeah. But like traditionally, Catwoman is not a chaotic force.
No, she's a
Yeah.
criminal, right? Like she's a cat
She usually-
burglar.
yeah.
That's her whole
Or an
thing.
anti-hero, like what the depends what, because she's usually a shades of gray character.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't mind that she's different from the comics, but
I
do get.
Yeah. I like when things are different.
No, but she doesn't seem to have a clear idea of like what the hell she wants.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I do get like her character's lack of focus. I get why it makes like the Penguin feel like the more powerful of the two
Right.
when they're on screen together.
Well, yeah, I guess I do kind of like that about her, is that because they're kind of playing up this angle where she like has lost her mind. So like literally, like I think we were watching the movie and we like looked at each other and we were like, literally everything that comes out of her mouth is utter nonsense. Like truly, it's either nonsense or a really bad pun to her, which in a way is kind of cool, because I feel like to her, she's probably like, she thinks she's so funny that she's making these puns that are just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, but, and like, it's almost like she's like playing this big joke on everybody, but she doesn't realize that she's doing it. You know what I mean? I guess I just like, I don't even know what point
it comes across as more pathetic
because I can't like dissect her.
Yeah, well, because she doesn't have much. She just wants to kill those two
No, yeah, I
people.
guess she's just insane. Yeah.
And that this, like I said, that interpretation of the character does not work for me.
No, I mean, I guess it, okay, like on paper, when you describe it that way, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I can get behind that. But the way she, and I'm going to say this, and I really like Michelle Pfeiffer in general, I hate the way she acted this role. I think it was
and I think it's
watch like cringy almost for me.
I don't think it's her fault. I think it's the
No.
writing and direction that she's getting.
No, I agree. And I think it's like what her idea of Catwoman is, like based on like Eartha Kitt or whatever. But it's like Eartha Kitt can pull that off because she's fucking Eartha Kitt. You know what I mean? Like, you're just Michelle Pfeiffer acting like Eartha Kitt, and I'm not into it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten that far in the show yet, but like Eartha Kitt's one of my favorite Catwomen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we get this cool fight scene where the circus gang just seems to be causing general chaos.
Yeah, as they're trying to like make a vote of no confidence in the mayor.
Yes.
Right,
So it's like a false flag attack. Yeah.
And Batman, like, he's like actually like dodging punches, and like he's a lot more mobile than he was in the 1989 movie.
Yeah, but him doing that, I feel like the limitations in 89 forced him to do more creative camera stuff. Because she's just walking around and just dodging dudes versus like coming in and out of shadows and things.
Yeah, I mean, they're 89 is definitely the better movie. I'm not saying that.
It's an apples and oranges thing.
I just think it's like pretty cool to see him doing that.
Yeah.
Especially after having not seen that.
Yeah, especially now we're spoiled for choice for Batman.
Yeah.
At the time, there really wasn't.
But yeah, Batman is just kind of like walking around, beating up like what feels like an army of.
It feels like a lot of dudes, yeah.
So many dudes. But this is kind of the first time Batman, Catwoman, and Penguin meet.
Like, intersect, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the first time Batman meets the Penguin on the rooftops, and Batman just basically calls him out for doing all this. He's like, oh, he's nothing. I don't know. It just was a good scene where he's like, you can't really stop me. You got public opinion on my side.
Yeah. I really like the scene. It's silly, but I like it a lot. So Catwoman like breaks into a Shrek department store, and like sets some gas, like a big silly Tim Burton canister of gas that is labeled very similarly to our 66. It's just labeled gas.
Yeah.
And like Batman and Penguin are talking to each other, and she just comes back flipping towards them.
Yeah, her big move is the backflip in this movie.
And she like stops in front of them and she just like looks at them and says meow, and then the building behind her explodes.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I love that part.
I think if she said something cooler than meow, it would have been awesome.
Well, okay, so listen, now I'm like thinking about her like in a new way. Like I'm wondering if I had seen this movie without like this idea of like a manic, glamorous, unhinged like woman was kind of such a thing in pop culture. I wonder if I would feel so annoyed by her. You know what I mean? Like,
but
she
that
was the
trope's been
introduction of that
yeah.
idea. I don't think I would find her to be so insufferable, but because that is so ingrained in like my personal opinion of like what I think annoying people could be, like if that's why she bothers me so much, because I feel like she's such a trope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the trope's called like
was at the time.
I think the trope's called crazy sexy, something like that.
Is that what it is? Yeah, like I
Or no, do you mean Manic Pixie Dream Girl?
No, that's something different.
They're different.
And Manic Pixie Dream Girl is like Ramona Flowers.
Right. Like more of like a Harley Quinn, whatever that type of.
Yeah, she really does feel like a proto Harley Quinn.
Right. Like like there's got to be a title for that. I'm sure there is. I'll Google it later. Because I think the idea of somebody backflipping away from an explosion and then just going meow sounds fucking cool as hell. But like seeing it played out, I'm just like, no, that's annoying. I don't like it.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, Catwoman and Batman fight here, and I feel like it never really makes it clear that why Catwoman hates Batman. But I really think it's because Batman saved her in the beginning.
Or right now. I mean, he literally just saves her again after that scene.
Yeah, but she's already trying to kill him.
Fair enough.
And here she's like he like kicks her in the gut or something, and she's like, how could you? I'm a woman. And when he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, she like beats his ass.
Yeah. Also, another thing about Catwoman in this movie, because we're talking about her backflipping and stuff, like all of a sudden she gets thrown out a window, is chewed on by cats, comes back to life, and like has all this crazy martial arts skill.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Because if she was more just like a cat burglar, then like, yeah, and not be able to do all that. That's a problem that Harley Quinn also has, where she was like a psychiatrist and then meets the Joker and becomes like a physical threat to Batman.
Yeah, we never really, so I think we kind of skipped over it, but
yeah,
the way she becomes Catwoman is almost supernatural. Like, she gets knocked out a window, falls from a height that
should splatter you.
Yeah.
But she falls through an awning at the end, so she's okay.
The Joker fell from the same height and didn't have a couple awnings to break his fall.
Yeah.
And fell on concrete rather than snow. And he wasn't splatted.
Yeah, but he was dead.
Well, she says she was dead too.
The cats licked her back to
life. I mean, that's part of the thing too, because she mentioned she goes through 9 lives, where she gets shot a ton towards the end and is fine.
She counts it though.
Yeah, well, she counts getting pushed out the window as losing one of those 9 lives.
And she counts like the Penguin doing something to her as also losing a life.
Does the Penguin?
She says I think she says the Penguin and Batman kill her once.
No, she said Max and Batman.
Okay. Well, she said one of those guys. I thought she said Penguin too.
Because
there's a part where like he like does an umbrella thing that like, hey, he hangs her from that and like leaves her for dead as it flies away.
Oh, maybe.
I thought that's what she was referring to.
Anyway, she gets licked by cats and comes back to life and now can backflip and
Now she's a
has 9
Catwoman.
lives. I
Yeah.
feel like it introduces this weird element of supernaturalness that is never really touched on. Like I can see the Penguin, he's just some
He's a
genetic
mutant.
mutation
Yeah.
that he looks that way, so he kind of embraces that life.
He doesn't like swim through the water like a penguin, you know?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're like, it could also be maybe because she is no longer like within the restraints of like societal norms, she's like unlocked this part of her brain, like this part of everybody's brain, like that primal part where you're just like, I'm a hunter now, you know what I mean?
I think you're giving it too much credit.
Because like she is knocked out, but then like the cat's like licking the inside of her mouth and like biting her finger, she starts like twitching, like almost like her brain is like resetting, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's weird. It's definitely,
It's I think it's a confused take on what they're trying to do. I think the fact that we have such wildly different interpretations of what's going on with Catwoman isn't
Right.
necessarily a great thing. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's such a weird character. But I think she's really cool.
Yeah. I think in a different movie, I would probably like it a lot more.
I mean, like, see, like, I don't know. I guess they need, okay, like, I like Penguin and Catwoman together, other than like Penguin taking it like way too far. But like, I feel like Max Schreck should be the one that gets cut out. I could care less about him. Like, I want to see more of like the Penguin and Catwoman scheming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Max.
See, without Max Schreck, though, I don't know what this two would like come together for.
I guess.
Yeah, he's kind of like
he's like a plot catalyst.
Well, then
Yeah.
she should have gotten her own movie, which is
I would be okay with that.
Batman,
Yeah.
and then there's another movie where she comes back and Penguin's there. Like, she's already established, and we don't need to do like 5 origin stories in one movie.
Yeah, I think her and Penguin don't really.
I don't think they gel.
There's no like. Penguin just is horny for her.
Well, I also think it's supposed to be like this bird and cat thing.
Well, so all 3 of them are some sort of animal person.
Yeah, the cat that was in a lot of the marketing. I remember watching Batman 66 reruns,
Mm-hmm.
and like the commercials for them would be like, catch the cat, bat, and the penguin. Like, it was around the time this movie was coming
Yeah, like for the toy sets and stuff, right?
My specifically what I'm remembering is commercials for Batman 66 reruns.
Okay. I thought you were watching reruns of Batman 66 and the commercials for this stuff came on.
Yeah. We should go into the toy line later. I'm curious to see what you have. But let's get through the film first.
I'm also wondering if like Catwoman's wanting of Batman's destruction is like a weird sexual thing for her. Like, it's maybe like I shouldn't say weird, but like it could be like sexually driven in that she is like kind of like this dom figure, you know what I mean? Like, and like taking down like a powerful man is like,
I mean,
for her in that way, you know what I mean? Just because based on like the scene of her and Penguin, like he's like, oh, there's a plan forming, and she goes, oh, I want in. The thought of like busting Batman like makes me feel dirty, and then starts like licking herself like a cat, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty literal, but also I don't know, I'm just trying to give her some fucking motivation.
no, I think her quote was I think wasn't her direct quote, killing Batman makes this pussy wet.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was that
I'll cut that out. But
damn, you should have written that though, because I'm surprised it's not in the.
Well, no, Penguin does say
he says something about that.
Something gross about it.
Yeah.
Oh God, so gross.
But that's the Penguin is gross like that. Like
Yeah.
in most interpretations of him.
That's, I mean, like, yeah, I that is the part of him that I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
I
think
feel like it would make sense for this like mutant version of the character
to be
Yeah.
to be like so sexually
oh
depraved.
totally, that he's
Yeah.
just like overwhelmed by just seeing a woman,
Yeah.
you know.
Because every single woman he encounters, he's
Yeah.
like,
That's so gross. I can't. After that scene,
I mean, that's kind of what I want a Danny DeVito Penguin to be like, though.
I guess. It's just so uncomfortable. I mean, and that's good. He's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's if that's what they're going for, then I don't mind it.
Right.
I don't think that's what they're going for with Catwoman, and it makes me uncomfortable. Where it's like, I don't know. She feels like mentally damaged, and it's just like, that's not the good kind of like sexy. And that's probably why I don't like Harley Quinn too much either. But although speaking of Harley Quinn, like Catwoman in that show is like that's the cool kind of Catwoman that she has. Anyway, that there's other versions of Catwoman. This is probably one of my bottom choices.
Yeah.
For her.
I think I really liked the version in the newest Batman of her.
Oh, in the Batman? That was a
Yeah.
good movie. I liked her in that. Yeah.
And she was really cool. Like,
but she was the more traditional femme fatale and that
she
movie
was, and they definitely like she relied on her sexuality, but it was in a way where like she was in control of how people were seeing it.
Yeah, she was taking what she wanted.
Right. It didn't feel like it was forced upon her.
That was a good movie. I like that movie. But
Yeah, I still need to see it.
yeah.
Maybe one day.
And
Anyway.
the Penguin's in that too, and I like that version of the Penguin, but he was
That's
just,
right, he is in that too. See, there you
Yeah.
go. They can be in a movie together and it's not a hot mess.
yeah, and like, but like the Penguin was a very small part of that movie.
He was, yeah.
I mean, he was involved
good.
in the best Batmobile chase scene in that.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. But anyway,
Yeah.
we should talk about that once.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually. We have
like,
so much Batman media to get to before
after
that. Yeah.
the Penguin and Catwoman are like talking in his lair, like they're like Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne are like on the street walking together, and like there's like, I thought this was cool, like there's like all these headlines of like it's a catastrophe, and like just like stupid puns about how like Catwoman is like a mess basically and causing chaos, and she's like, and Selena Kyle's like, well, I don't know if it's like that bad, or I forget which her deal is, but then like Bruce Wayne, there's like ones about how like Batman's blowing it and he's like, oh man, I mean, I think he's doing a little bit better than that, you know, like
Yeah.
it's kind of funny.
I think it's playing into like that, you know, duality.
Right.
Like
They do talk about that a lot, a bunch, where they're like,
But it's
they call
also,
each other split.
they are both so self-absorbed that you're not even paying attention to the fact that you have like the other person that you are walking with, supposedly having a conversation with, has literally basically just told you that that is their secret identity, but you're so wrapped up in yourself that you haven't even realized it, you know?
I mean, Batman grew up rich. He's, you know, that's what they're like.
That's
Yeah.
true, I guess. And Catwoman's just trying to get by, so.
Yeah.
And I think we see that again when they start like making out, and you know, so when they fought, they both injured each other. Like Catwoman stabbed Batman in the side,
Yeah.
and then Batman threw napalm at her, and they both are like touching each other's injuries, and like the camera will cut to their face and they're like cringing as they're like,
Yeah.
you know, like making out with each other.
Right. And it's just like, yeah, I feel like that's such an obvious like click if you were just aware, like, you know.
Yeah, but they're each so focused on keeping their own secret.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like when they're at the end of that scene, like the bat signal goes up, and so Bruce Wayne has to escape, and then that's Catwoman's plan. They both have excuses to leave like immediately. You know. Ah,
Yeah, I do like when they both come up with excuses.
yeah.
They tell Alfred, and like first Bruce is like, oh, I need you to make something up. Tell her I had a business trip. And then Selena's like, oh, I need you to make something up for me.
Yeah.
And like, they just basically do his job for him.
That is one of my favorite parts, where that is like a part where I'm like, oh, I like Selena Kyle, because she's like running out and she's giving him all of these things to say, and then she's like, could you just like write a sonnet? Could you just like write a poem? That would be good. And then just like runs out the door.
Yeah.
I thought that was really endearing. That was like a moment where I was like, oh, I feel like when she's just a nerd, it's like better,
And so they both leave because the TV's on.
Oh yeah.
And the Penguin, so during like the fight in the streets, like one of the circus people like got a batarang,
Yeah.
and the Penguin used it to like attack the Snow Queen or something.
Yeah, they kidnapped her and they used that as evidence there.
Yeah, which the city is so fast to turn on Batman.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane.
It's the movie's kind of ahead of its time in this way, where it talks about like media manipulation and like how the news can't always be trusted.
Yeah.
Got relevancies, in the modern day. I'm not trying to make that a political statement, but whoever's listening side is the one I agree with. Now I talk about how much I don't like cops enough in the show, so I think people know where I land.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's because that is what kicks off, because that's part of her scheme because she and the Penguin are trying to frame Batman, which is another 1966 plot line.
Oh yeah.
Well, no, because we've seen that sometimes. Like, remember when Riddler was kind of trying to frame Batman as like like he was suing him for assault and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of things like that.
When they're about to go downtown to like pull off their plot, and like there's this really there's a scene of each of them getting ready, and like it just, I think, juxtaposes again like how like even though Batman and Catwoman essentially like are the same person, in the sense that they both have like these hidden identities and are trying to like figure out like what that means, that like because Batman has like wealth, his getting ready scene is like very like, he has like his whole bat cave, and like all of his outfits are hanging up in his like super awesome like high-tech closet, and like he's like getting ready and getting in his car, and then it's like Selena Kyle is like again like the manic trope in her like little beat up like Volkswagen Bug, just like driving off the road and like throwing her cat costume around trying to like put it on. It's just like kind of like a funny juxtaposition,
The shields on the Batmobile,
Yeah.
they look awful.
Yeah, they look really bad. I think I don't think they looked great in 89, but they looked better if I remember.
They look so much better. I mean, granted, it's been like maybe a year since the last time I watched 89, maybe 2.
Yeah.
because they blew all their budget on the Penguins.
Yeah, right.
Telling you.
But in my memory, it looks practical in that movie.
I know that it's not, at least not the transition of them if it's shielding up. There might have been a Batmobile that was shielded that like was an actual prop.
Maybe.
But I'm pretty sure it was animated. It like going on the armor.
Yeah,
It's been a minute since I watched Batman 89. I did want to watch it along with this one so I could compare it for this podcast, but you know, we're recording this and it's the holidays and it's kind of hard to find enough time to watch a ton of movies.
Yeah, truly. But yeah, so while Batman is trying to rescue the Snow Princess,
Ice Princess,
excuse me. You know, Penguin's gang is like hacking into the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this part is so dumb.
So I do think this part of the plan is dumb, but it's a lot of fun, so I don't really care. Like if the movie was more silly like this, I wouldn't care.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think this whole part exists
To sell
just
toys.
to sell a new Batmobile.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see an RC Batmobile toy.
Well, so there was a Batmobile toy for 89 that was just a Batmobile. It had like where it was machine guns in the movie, it was shot two little darts.
Yeah.
The Batman Returns Batmobile, you could like hit a button and like the sides would like unattach and it would just be the center thing.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually at the end of the scene, that's what it becomes. I vaguely remember that. I didn't really have the Batman toys as a kid, but I'm aware of a ton of them.
Gotcha. So I guess I'll be talking toys alone.
I don't think I had Batman. I had some animated series toys that you got from McDonald's, but I don't think I had any like. I didn't have a lot of superheroes as a kid. I was into Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters. Those are the toys that I had.
Yeah, I had,
and like some random Transformers I picked up along the way.
I had three figures from this toy line.
Yeah.
I had the Penguin, which looked nothing like the Danny DeVito Penguin. It was just a repaint of the Superpowers line.
Yeah, Superpowers one, yeah.
Yeah. So like in that one, he was like blue and purple.
And this one, he's like black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had oh God, I think it was called Air Assault Batman. And it's Batman with this like glider, but instead of just like his regular colors, he's like zebra color, like zebra striped.
Oh, he's the zebra Batman.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really silly.
I remember like they would always just make toys that aren't even necessary, like for those toy lines that weren't even represented in the movie.
No, definitely not, because the third figure I had was Robin, who's not in this at all.
Yeah.
Although
stupid.
Tim Burton did have a plan for Robin, and I don't know if it was meant to be in this one or
Who was supposed
the
to
third
play
one.
him?
One of the Wayans.
Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, you know what?
That's cool.
It's supposed to be one of the Wayans. Give me a sec.
Yeah, that comic is basically Tim Burton's third Batman movie.
Because it's really good, and Robin's like, this is the guy that plays Robin. I don't know if he's supposed to be anybody. He doesn't remind me of anyone, but he is black in it. So I was like, oh, maybe that was the plan all along.
Yeah, I think it's riffing off that. I don't think they got the likeness for an actor that was never cast, you know?
Yeah, because they got Michael Keaton, Billy D. Williams, and Michelle Pfeiffer likenesses is in this book.
Yeah, I know Commissioner Gordon doesn't look anything like whatever his name is.
He's barely in it.
He's barely in any of this, so that doesn't bother me too much.
Yeah. Him and Alfred are the only like consistent act. They're the only ones in all four.
Damn. Yeah. And Alfred is like so good in this version. I love how catty he is. Like he always has something smart to say back.
He's cattier than Catwoman.
He is. He's catty the way Catwoman should be.
You would probably like him in the animated series too. I feel like he's pretty catty.
He just like, oh god.
Wait.
So at the when Batman's initially looking at like the newspaper articles about like the circus that the Penguin is from, supposedly.
Yeah.
Alfred's asking him like, oh, like like why are you so fixated on Penguin? Are you worried that you won't be the only lonely beast man in town? And I've like lost my shit. I just thought that was so funny.
Kayla, have you not watched Batman the Animated Series?
I've watched like bits and pieces of it, but I've never like actually sat down to watch it.
It's a good show.
I like the animation style a lot, except Batman looks like Hank Hill. You really watch it and think about it next time.
All right, I'll try to.
Out there listening to this podcast, go watch it and think about Hank Hill and you'll see it.
It's a lot more apparent. There are some like early episodes that you can tell like a cheaper studio did.
Yeah.
Specifically, I know they animated that like Catwoman 2-parter. And they might have done like another episode. He really looks like Hank Hill.
And he's so
all right, I'll have to check that out then, because I never put that together.
He doesn't have a butt.
Yeah. Robin, that point, right? Anyway, Hank Hill is not in Batman Returns.
No.
Unfortunately.
So while the Red Triangle gang is hacking into the Batmobile so Kenner can sell us a new Batmobile toy.
Yeah.
Batman's trying to save the Ice
Princess.
The Ice Princess.
Okay.
Give her title. She earned it.
Ice Princess is like so cool and collected.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, thanks for rescuing me, Batman. I know they set you up, but I'll just like clear it with the cops.
Yeah.
She's pretty chill. I like Ice Princess.
That's why she's the Ice Princess.
That's true.
Catwoman gets the jump on Batman, which I don't really see how she beat him there.
Yeah, right? Like she was in her dumb Volkswagen running off the road and he was in his crazy Batmobile.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe because she knew where to go. She like,
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And she got changed on the way. Batman had to go into
that's
his
true. He got
cave.
changed first and then went.
and like, I don't know how Batman even gets in and out of that costume, because like at the end when he takes his mask off, he like literally has to rip it off the costume.
Oh my god, I was just thinking that. Like, we can talk about that when he does it. I have thoughts on that. Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Ice Princess gets up on the ledge of like a high building.
Yeah.
And the Penguin's up there too. And he releases some bats out of his umbrella.
Wait, he goes, like the Ice Princess is like, oh, like she let me go. And Batman's like, oh, be careful, like you're on that ledge. And she's like, oh, okay, cool. And then Penguin out of the darkness yells, lawn dart, and just throws his umbrella at her.
Yeah. But he does throw bats out there. So the people that are looking at the street think like bats and Batman threw her off the building.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then she falls on the button for the tree lighting ceremony. And the tree does light up. However, a colony of bats also swarms out of the tree, which is like, for me, a very iconic scene that I remember.
I mean, I'm sure it's meant to be iconic.
Yeah,
I just remember Danny DeVito doing weird shit.
Dart.
I mean, how do you not remember Danny DeVito doing?
I mean, that's basically his whole career.
Yeah.
But,
and then like the cops show up as soon as Danny DeVito, or like, I'm sorry, as soon as the Penguin, let me use his real name.
yes,
He's so deep in character.
As soon as the Penguin like slinks back into the shadows, like the cops come out and just start shooting Batman.
So silly. I feel like this is where it finally starts to get enjoyable for me. Like,
Yeah, I
the setup is over and I just like watching the hijinks, because the setup causes me to ask too many questions about this doesn't make sense. Why is this happening? But once everything's established, and I'm just enjoying watching the characters kind of like fuck around. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
because I think that I agree that it gets better from here on out. But that's when it goes from like the tone problem where it's like it goes to camp and corny.
Mhm,
And
exactly.
I think that works better, but it clashes with the visual style of the movie.
I think so. That's what I think Tim Burton does best. He thinks out aesthetics, he thinks out concepts that are really interesting, but then his stories always fall apart because he doesn't know how to do it. You know what I
Like
mean?
his stuff usually has more of a fairy tale element. Like
That's
we've mentioned Edward Scissorhands or like a Beetlejuice or something, or like it's not really the real world. It's like you can get away with like not everything making like logical sense.
except then they will say something that connects it to the real world, because there's a
Yeah.
scene where she's talking about, like, I forget why she's talking about, but she's like, with all of the Ted Bundys of the world like running around out there, it's like you can't connect it back to something that's really real. It just doesn't work, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like the like mention of real world serial killers.
In such a like kind of whimsical take on this,
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Batman, and maybe this is where the aerosol Batman comes from, but he has this like crazy glider in his cape,
Yeah.
and he like kind of flies back down to his Batmobile.
It's all been hacked.
Hacked.
Yeah. So this might be my favorite scene in the movie. I do like the Tim Burton Batmobile, even though I don't like it as much as the Adam West Batmobile.
Like, you just like all the gadgets in it and stuff?
Well, like, I don't know. I like that the Penguin's gone like full tilt, like bad guy. Like he's mask off in the scene. Where like he has control of the Batmobile, like in a little arcade racer.
Yeah, which I think like is a real.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
I think it's from an actual arcade game.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you which one it is, but like, so he's on like a video in the Batmobile, like taunting Batman. He's like trying to run over like old ladies and things. And, like, I don't know. It's just like, it's fun in a way that like, I kind of wish that was what the movie was more like.
So before that, we get Penguin and Catwoman. We get their falling out.
Yeah.
Catwoman's kind of pissed that the Penguin killed the Ice Princess.
Yeah, that wasn't the deal.
She's dead.
She fell into the present. I thought she got up after, no?
No, she's dead as hell.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, cats didn't chew on her, so
she didn't come back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catwoman's pissed about that. Penguin's like, oh, you gotta marry me and be my gal.
Yeah, like what the hell?
And Catwoman's like, no.
In what world would he even? I mean, I guess, okay, like,
he's a mutant thing that grew up in the sewers.
Right. So if you think some woman talks to you, then obviously she's gonna marry you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incel Penguin.
Because like, very incel. He's like, you sent all the signals. And then that's when he like attaches her to the helicopter thing.
I do love that she's just so disgusted by him. And she's like, no.
He's disgusting.
He's awful.
He's very, like I said, he's always oozing goo for some reason.
He's always oozing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at the end.
Yeah.
I assume it's blood.
He's like made of tar or something. It's it's just there to be gross, I guess.
But then
I don't like the mutant Penguin like that's the part of the Penguin in here I don't like.
Mm.
What you saying?
Oh, I was just saying after she gets hooked up to the umbrella,
The umbrella copter.
copter,
Yeah.
she gets dropped into like somebody's rooftop greenhouse and like shrieks so loud that she shatters all of the glass in the greenhouse.
Oh yeah. That's one of her superpowers she has now.
Yeah, it's just like another, just like, I think this will look really cool if she does it. So we're just gonna put it in there, you know?
Yeah. So this movie is almost kind of like a cartoon.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's almost too cartoony in a way.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like the tone, like it I think it's trying to have its cake and eat it too. Like everyone gives shit to the Schumacher films for not being as gritty and real as the Tim Burton movies. I'm like, this movie is really corny in parts.
Yeah, but I almost wonder if like we're just comparing it to it, and like it's a sequel to 89. It can't help but be compared to it. But I wonder if it existed separate from that. If I don't know,
If this was the first movie they made instead of Batman 89, I don't think it would be as big a hit.
Oh, probably not. Definitely not. So yeah, Penguin takes control of the Batmobile. We get this scene. I personally think it goes on a little too long.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
definitely.
But yeah, the Penguin's talking all sorts of shit, and we see Batman throw a little CD into the computer, which comes into play at the end of the film.
I don't think it's that much farther after this scene.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah.
The cops, they're dumb in 66, but they're dumber here.
Yeah.
They're just like,
they're dumber here because this is a more, for lack of a better term, like grown up world. Because like the 66 shows, it's meant for children. You know what I mean?
Sure. They're just like crashing into everything. I don't know. But yeah, eventually the Bat computer tells Batman where the radio control device is, and he punches through the floor to like grab it and destroy it.
Ridiculous.
I thought that was, I don't know, I thought it's that heightened superhero thing that like I kind of like.
Oh, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's
just cool. It just doesn't make
playing
sense.
up the ridiculousness.
Yeah. He's never exhibited super strength before in this version, and then all of a sudden,
I mean,
punch through the car.
There's a lot of ridiculous stuff in Batman, like straight up, but you know, the fact this car, look at his car, like that already is ridiculous.
It's a cool car.
I like it, but it's ridiculous.
And he stops just in time before he runs over an old lady
with like a baby carriage too, right?
Or her groceries.
She's
groceries. That's what it is.
Grocery car.
A woman with a baby carriage would have been too corny. Yeah. So I feel like.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't like part of Penguin's persona, at least in 66, isn't he supposed to be, he's kind of like this proper man who uses like extraneous vocabulary to kind of like show his like intellect, and like that's kind of like his persona, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
Sometimes he uses a lot of alliteration.
Yeah. So I feel like, again, just like that whole scene of him, like of this version of Penguin like hacking the Batmobile is just so like clownish. Like he's literally on a quarter ride where you like put a quarter in the slot, and it's like
he's playing like Daytona USA.
Yeah, and it's just like I just don't understand. Like he's a mess, like conceptually, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's this gross, disgusting like thing which they play up, but then he's also just like he's kind of like childish, but like where does he get all these gadgets from? You know what I mean? Like,
so here's how I would have played it up. I wouldn't have made him like a weird mutant person. I probably would have made him like a petty gang lord that like Maxwell Shrek probably like bankrolls. I probably would still do the public persona mayoral thing, but like his money is where he gets all the his funding for like his weird giant rubber ducky vehicles and stuff. I definitely wouldn't give him an army of penguins. Like I probably would have made him like a quote unquote more normal person.
But
he would still be Danny DeVito and like gross, like as a human being,
right?
But not like gross as
Not
a physical
oozing.
monster creature.
I get why Tim Burton made all those decisions.
They're very Tim Burton-y decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, like over the top.
Tim Burton. And I think a lot of directors I enjoy.
Yeah.
Not that they don't consider story at all, but like since film is a visual medium, I think they want to be like, what is going to look cool?
And don't misunderstand me. Towards the end of the movie, when Danny DeVito is giving a rousing military speech to an army of penguins with missiles strapped to their back, I also love that.
Yeah.
But that does not feel like it fits anywhere.
So yeah, Batman punches through the floor and gets control of the Batmobile again, just in time for it to be destroyed.
Just in time for him to go home and put on his Brooks Brothers outfit.
Yeah, he's dressed pretty lame this whole movie.
He looks like somebody's like 1990s dad.
I mean, he was Mr. Mom.
That's true.
The Penguin's making a speech, and Bruce and Alfred decide to go down into the Batcave, and yeah, I guess it's the next scene right after.
Yeah.
They use the recording of the Penguin.
Yeah, saying all his horrible shit. Like basically revealing his plans to everybody. And he does a very corny like DJ Scratch thing to it.
Oh yeah, that was super corny.
Like corny in not a great way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very 90s.
And
Bruce,
that's not even how CDs work.
Right.
yeah. Bruce uses a crazy entrance to the Batcave where like he puts his arm into a fish tank and like clicks a button on a model of Wayne Manor.
Which at first I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's so nice that he cares about his fish.
No, all I could think of was like, wow, this would be really easy with a bust of a bust you just push the head over and push it.
Right.
Yeah. Then he gets into like, what are those things called? Black Mariahs?
No, Iron Maiden.
He gets in an Iron Maiden, yeah.
Yeah. And
But then again, like then Bruce Wayne
Alfred-
has an Iron Maiden, a medieval torture device, just in his living room.
Oh, well,
He's an eccentric billionaire.
Yeah, and that is consistent with Batman 89.
Yeah, he does have a bunch of medieval weird stuff.
Probably left over from Adam's Family. Or got it for Adam's Family, and they were like, we have it.
Did Adam's Family come out? The Adam's Family movie, obviously the Adam's Family had existed already. Did that movie come out yet in 92?
Yeah, I think that came out in 91.
Yes, because the Pinball Machine's 91.
Yeah, but like Alfred's just like, oh, I'll take the stairs.
Classic Alfred.
And he gets there like at the same time.
Yeah, they get there at the same time. It's like, why the hell did he go through all that?
Why not? You have it. You paid to put it in.
Just it's a very Tim Burton-y mechanism.
And
yeah, like very visually interesting choice.
Well, and there's something about like that scene in particular where I'm watching Michael Keaton and like he has so many Beetlejuice mannerisms, like the way he's like he looks at Alfred like the same way like Beetlejuice is like, come on, like he like throws the hands up and stuff. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't get a chance to do a lot of like fun personality stuff in this movie.
He has his moments though.
He has moments, but I feel like he definitely had more in the I know I mentioned it earlier, but like that's something I kind of am missing in this.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Besides the let's get nuts thing, what are you thinking of?
Well, like he had more like scenes to play with. Well, like we mentioned all the medieval stuff, like he gets to talk to Vicky Vale and like that armory thing. They have that big awkward dinner at the long table. Like, I don't know, there's more things to do. The Let's Get Nuts scene is just his best one as Bruce Wayne.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes in both movies. And it has nothing to do with Batman. And so that's pretty, like, that's always a good sign when your Bruce Wayne's also cool.
The city turns against the Penguin.
Yeah. Very quick. I love that immediately there's like vegetables being thrown at him. And I think, doesn't he mention who brings that stuff to a
yeah. He's like, why is there always somebody who brings vegetables to a scene?
Yeah. Like rotten cabbages or whatever.
And then he like leaps down on top of somebody.
He just like body
Yeah, it's just real funny.
It's funny watching Danny DeVito do anything, but Danny DeVito in a ridiculous fat suit just waddling around and like he body slams somebody in the crowd, but then like struggles to get up. Whereas like in real life, that crowd could all just pile on him and just squish him, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, would you want to touch him?
Previously, like open fire with
true.
a machine gun umbrella.
That's true.
Yeah. I think I don't think we came to a conclusion with this, but I know we talked about it in the Penguin episodes of 66. But like, what's the deal with this version of the Penguin and umbrellas?
Is it? Yeah. Like, is that supposed to be part of like a dapper gentleman's attire?
That's what we were speculating in the original ones, but
like
we never found out.
Prepared, you know?
Yeah.
So they always have like a top hat and an umbrella.
Yeah,
and he usually has a monocle.
You independently came to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's something to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just one of those things. Like he has a. In this version of the Penguin, he should have way less resources. Like we've made fun of the fact he immediately got out of jail and has like a giant umbrella factory that makes like umbrella like heat-seeking missiles and stuff. But like, you know, that's a really goofy world. Like in this, he's got all kinds of insane gadgets and vehicles and stuff.
Right, but he's lived in a sewer his whole life. My question is, who taught him how to read? Who taught him how to talk?
Well, no, he was part of a circus.
Yeah, like he was part of a circus. So I assume he learned some stuff at some point.
And the circus, I mean, it seemed like even before he was an adult, it seemed like the circus was involved in crime.
Okay.
Which makes sense. They're moving from town to town, you know.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, there's like, I think like, I can't remember exactly what it was in the newspaper, but it was like, oh, there was like a disappearance.
Yeah.
The circus was gone before anyone could be questioned.
Yeah, they mentioned something like that. It's a blinking and miss it thing because I also saw that.
Yeah. As the Penguin is like running from the crowd and the police, he's taking the same path that his parents took when they threw him over the edge of the bridge, and he jumps off the same bridge to return to the sewer.
Because it's a parallel.
Wait, somehow finds along the way a giant rubber ducky boat to ride back in his sewer on.
Maybe he just always has one on standby.
Maybe.
If I could have one on standby.
Of course. Who wouldn't? My babies. I do love how much he loves his penguins because I feel like so often
he says that, but he was going to just blow them all up.
But he, on several occasions, calls them his babies and chooses when there's a situation where it's either the penguin or like, you know, I don't know, like if there's a choice between the penguin gets hurt or like you potentially gain ground in this fight, he always chooses his penguin over it. There's like 2 occasions I can think of where he saves his penguin. You know? I feel like so many times henchmen just get, you know, shat on.
Very true. But not hench penguins. Here he has a freak out. One of his goons calls him Oswald, and he says, "My name is Penguin."
Yeah.
I wish he would have I feel like there was a missed opportunity here where he could have echoed on the scene
Yeah.
of the cemetery, and he said,
I am a bird. My name is Penguin.
yeah, or like, I am not a man. My name is
I mean, he
Penguin.
does. I mean, he doesn't say it in the exact order.
I think it's
But he's
supposed
like,
to be
I am not a
evocative
human
of
being.
it.
I am an
That's true.
animal.
That's true.
Yeah, it's evocative of it.
Yeah.
It's like renouncing his humanity.
Yeah, and then he's just full monster the rest of the movie.
He's full monster.
Which I appreciate, because I think that's when he's the best.
Agreed.
Yeah, when they're letting him just cut loose, like Danny DeVito just cut loose as a bad guy.
He's not being used as somebody else's like manipulative, you know?
Yeah, I think a combination of like, yeah, when Penguin is at his like worst in this, I don't mean worst performance wise. I just mean like
no,
his most like disgusting and
Villainous.
like inhumane.
Yeah.
The combination between that and then seeing Frank Reynolds for so long, I was like, man, I can see a version of the Penguin that is just that and is hilarious and scary the whole movie. And like, I kind of wish that that's what we got. Obviously, this is predates It's Always Sunny for by many years, but I don't know. I think Danny DeVito's a good actor. I've seen him in like more normal roles, for lack of a better term. Like he can do dramatic stuff.
Yeah.
But I think he's best when like he's allowed to at least get real weird with it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like his character in Taxi is like a unrepentantly terrible guy, but like he's still like charming and like he's still charismatic. Like you still like to watch him, as a viewer.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of it.
Taxi's a good show, especially when Christopher Lloyd joins the cast.
Yeah, I should check it out. Has
Yeah.
two actors I enjoy a lot. Next scene is the dance party.
Mm-hmm.
Mo-
Yeah, Max Shrek's
Favorite
like
scene.
Christmas ball or whatever it
Best
is.
scene.
Yeah, it's my favorite scene in the whole goddamn movie. I think it's so good.
Okay, I can respect that.
In the entire, all the extras, Max Shrek, everyone's wearing masks except for Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle.
Well, because their masks are Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle, right?
It's so
Exactly.
good. It's so brilliant. I think it was when Batman and Catwoman first met, there was some mistletoe.
Yeah, there was a reference to mistletoe at least.
Batman says mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it.
Yeah.
And Catwoman says, but a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it.
Yeah.
Which is honestly so corny.
It's a silly thing to say, but then it's brought back here.
And then they reverse the lines here, and that's how they realize each
I-
other's who they
It's
are.
still so corny.
Oh God, I love it. And then like,
That's the kind of corny that I think can work. I don't mind corny.
yeah, I mean, it's all corny. It's a man as a bat.
Yeah,
But-
it's a superhero movie. It's inherently corny.
Oh God.
Okay, but corny isn't interchangeable with poorly written, and I think that was just not.
If the movie was more in line with like that, like with like the 60s Batman shows tone, that line would be totally fine and awesome. But
I
because
think,
this is like a weird, dark Tim Burton-y thing, like it's corny.
I think Tim Burton is dark, but he is also silly.
Yeah.
He's very silly. Pee-wee's
Um,
Big Adventure is an extremely silly movie.
Yeah. But
And that movie's great.
I just think like their reaction to like finding out who each other is like, oh God, like that is like maybe the best acting like the two of them do in the entire movie.
I would agree that's probably the best acting scene in the whole movie.
Definitely. Well, it's the only time they actually get to act. I feel like they're not
And
just.
I think that's why the Michael Keaton thing sticks out to me, where he doesn't get to really do much in terms of acting like that. You know what I mean? Where there's more scenes of him being able to like flex his acting muscles in the first movie.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like when you're Batman, there's not really much to act.
Especially once you got your origin movie out of the way, you know?
Yeah. You're just like, and I wouldn't even call
especially
Batman
because you can't
89 an
move.
origin
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an origin movie either, but like as an audience, we've been introduced to Batman and Bruce Wayne and like what makes them tick as characters already.
But yeah.
It's an origin. It's more of an introduction to the character. We've gotten that out of the way rather than an origin, if you know what I mean.
Yes. But yeah, oh God, this dance scene, so good. I love it.
Like I said, I respect that if that's your favorite scene in the movie. I like the goofy Batmobile thing.
And yeah, it's just like Selena Kyle is like slipping, like the lines between her and Catwoman are like basically non-existent. Like she pulls out a gun like in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, I'm killing Max Shrek right now. You know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I think again, if they were going, if this scene makes it, this movie frustrates me in a lot of ways, and I think we've talked about some of this. Like, yeah, there's in this scene you can see elements where like I think this would have been a really compelling character if she was played like less broken and goofy in scenes. Do you know what? Like the Batman kind of has a similar thing between Batman and Catwoman, and I think it works better where she's trying to get revenge on somebody in that movie, and he's trying to like not have her get revenge.
Yeah,
I think it works better in that, but like that movie's much more serious and like realistic.
Yeah.
This one's definitely meant to be silly.
Yeah, and I wish it leaned more into that because I wish it leaned more one way or the other. Because that's a problem I have with Batman Forever too. But like, I think Batman Forever is a much worse movie in overall.
Batman Forever, I think runs the problem of like being based off of a Tim Burton like vision.
Yeah.
But not directed by Tim Burton.
That's what I mean. Like it's too much. That one's got too like very strong because Joel Schumacher's take on Batman and Tim Burton's take on Batman clash really hard.
For sure.
And that one, I think, because it's trying to have a foot in both camps, extremely doesn't work. Because like when they finally get rid of like the Tim Burton influence in Batman and Robin, I find that movie kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, I find it a lot more watchable. I think this is a better movie than that one, but I prefer to watch Batman and Robin versus Batman Returns.
I don't know. I mean, just
I totally get why people would not agree with me on that. I'm not saying Batman and Robin is a good movie, but I find it more entertaining.
So after the dance,
yeah. Well, the Penguin shows up and
he explodes the dance floor because that's
the
only
as
way
you would.
Right? Makes quite an entrance.
And I don't mean with his dance moves. I mean he literally.
I kind of wish it was with his dance moves. Because then we could have had the Penguin. Like people could do the Penguin.
You know what?
And it could have been a big dance craze in the 90s.
That this movie doesn't have, that the one before it did. It does not have a dance scene where there's like legit music playing and the villain is just like dancing their way.
You know what? That is something this movie has, I think, over 89 is I think the Prince songs in it date that movie in a way where if they weren't in it, the movie would feel timeless. Like it would feel like it just kind of exists in like a fairy, like a fantastical version of the real world. This movie doesn't have like an intrusive pop songs. Like the Prince songs take me out of Batman 89.
I agree.
When they happen.
And it's No Kiss by a Rose or whatever that song is.
Oh.
Anyway, he explodes the dance floor. He unveils his plan of the Penguin
Firstborn.
army
Yeah.
going after all the firstborn children. Is
Yeah.
it specifically the firstborn children, right?
Yeah.
Firstborn
Okay,
males. Yeah.
question, and maybe you guys have the answer. Why does Max Shrek give a shit so much about his son? I mean, is it purely just parental love?
I mean, his son was only like one scene before this, and like they didn't even really do or say anything. It's just like, oh, it's his son. I don't
I feel
know.
like he would be such a self-centered piece of shit that he wouldn't care.
I think in a different.
They set it up though.
Did they? Because
So, the first time you see Chip Shrek, he comes through the door in the office right next to a painting of the two of them. So like, I mean, it kind of clashes with the kind of character like they're portraying
yeah,
Max as, but they've threaded it throughout the movie. So you have that where like any other crime boss would just have a picture of them,
That's true.
like an oil painting of them. He's one of him and his son. He's like when he's having the meeting with Bruce,
yeah,
he's like, I'm attempting to leave a legacy for Chip.
yeah. They set up a little bit, and like you can be a bad guy and still not want your son to die.
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't.
It is kind of
like an egomaniac who would then.
I think they could have set it up better if the movie was focused on one less villain. You know what I mean?
I guess, but why does he even have a son? His son doesn't even play a part.
His son reminded me so much of Eric Trump.
It does look like Eric Trump. That's
yeah.
Yeah, I think it maybe is supposed to humanize him a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, he can't be humanized when he has painted on eyebrows and fucking Einstein hair. Like, just let him be an insane person.
Yeah, why can't he have Christopher Walken's hair?
This is a Tim Burton movie, and he looks like a Tim Burton character.
He does.
Like more than any other of the
other than Pee Wee Herman at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
we haven't had a chance. We didn't really talk about Christopher Walken and Max Shrek in general. Like I don't know, it's kind of there.
Exactly.
Yeah, like I don't know what you guys think about him. Like,
I mean, Christopher Walken, I think
he's doing a fine job.
I enjoy watching the man.
Yeah, always.
I enjoy listening to the man.
Always.
Yeah.
He's definitely just a stand-in, a placeholder for
a big name.
For
I mean, Christopher Walken was a big name at this point too, right?
I'm sorry?
Christopher Walken was super famous at this point, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But the character is just a stand-in for the Harvey Dent character.
See, I would like this a lot less. I would like it a lot less if it was Harvey Dent.
I mean, it would be a different movie.
It would, but like I don't know if I like Harvey. I like Harvey Dent more when he becomes a bad guy when the Two-Face thing happens. I like because then it's more of a tragic thing. Like in the Batman '89 comic, which is a sequel to this, like that's kind of what happens. You know, it's more of a traditional Two-Face story.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I know if Harvey Dent was meant to be a villain in this, but
yeah, I could see him being manipulated into like helping the Penguin do a mayoral thing. That might be all right.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, the Maxwell Shrek character is not very.
He's just a shithead.
He's just like a stock bad business guy character.
Target for literally all of them by the end.
Yeah,
but they don't really come together to defeat him.
Yeah, I mean, they have different ways of wanting to defeat him.
Yeah.
Like he is there to cause conflict between Batman and Catwoman while also like, empowering the Penguin.
Now he's in a giant bird cage, so
Yeah. The penguin puts him in a cage. I love that whenever he's in the sewer, he's like covering his mouth to like not breathe in the germs or whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's also got stink.
Oh yeah. I mean, I am sure.
Yeah, I've never been in a sewer, but
you're really
I gotta
lucky
imagine.
now. Apparently, there's lots of penguins that live down there.
Yeah, it's obviously it connects to where like the penguin cage is. You know,
I feel like that zoo would be in direct violation.
it's not open anymore, I guess. So you know.
Yeah, that's true. The penguin's gang is going around town, or no, the penguin is releasing the penguins, right?
Yeah, in a tiny train.
Well, no, because Batman
But
saved all the kids.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah,
collecting
the gang
kids.
is stealing the kids. Yeah.
So Batman's able to save all of them, and that's why he's like, we're going full penguin apocalypse.
Yeah. I kind of love the lead like circus guy.
Mhm.
So
The monkey grinder.
do you remember a show when we were kids called Erie, Indiana?
I remember it existing. I don't think I ever watched it.
So yeah, I mean, for anyone listening, Erie, Indiana was basically like Goosebumps, or like it was like X-Files.
It was X-Files for kids.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it had a reoccurring protagonists, and every week they would deal with some weird thing happening in their town.
It's like a proto Gravity Falls.
Yes. But like that lead guy like played the mummy or something in that show.
I
just
don't know why I
remember-
didn't watch that show. I would have been really into that. I think it just came on a channel or a time where I wasn't watching TV.
Yeah, it was a Fox Kids program, I remember.
Yeah, I remember it coming on because I was like, oh, Erie, Indiana, because like Lake Erie. I was like, oh, I get it. And then I just never watched it.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you get the opportunity to watch it.
Yeah. But the lead guy plays a mummy in that show.
Yeah, he looks so distinct. It's like, oh, it's that guy.
Okay. Is that the guy the penguin like shoots? When he shows how serious he is?
No, that's some like
He's
sad
the monkey
clown man.
grinder.
Okay. Oh, the monkey grinder guy. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Not from your end, but I he's a character actor. You see him in things.
Yeah. And he's usually playing like a weird, creepy looking guy.
He almost looks like he should be in like Rob Zombie movies.
Right?
Yeah.
We get this scene with the bat boat.
Yep. Yeah, it's like cruising through the sewers. It's
It
like,
looks
was the
cool.
Turtles thing like the sewer skater or something?
Yes, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
Remind
me of Sewer Sharks, like all the POV shots and stuff. Remember that Sega CD game?
No.
Yeah, you're in a thing doing that, and you shoot monsters. It's an FMV game.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Sega CD.
I've never played a Sega CD.
You are not missing out on much.
There's like a couple games I wanted for it, but most of them have been re-released.
Yeah.
You two, let's get back on track and talk about the army of penguins that's swarming the city.
Yeah, well,
they're tiny custom-made bomb backpacks.
They're pretty cool.
So
I didn't have these toys, but you could get like a 2-pack penguin like toy as part of the Batman Returns toy line.
So like when I was a kid, I thought they were like robotic penguins that the penguin made because they're so fake. I think they're supposed to be real. I'm watching it now.
Yes, they're definitely supposed to be real.
Oh,
yeah.
The bombs, you mean?
No, the penguins. When I was a kid, I thought they were like robot penguins he had.
Oh no, I think they're all like
they're supposed to be real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
but they're like
when
really
swimming
bad
in the water and
animatronics
stuff.
or like kids in costumes.
Yeah, they're just being like controlled remotely. And then Batman jams the signal or whatever.
Yeah, Batman jams it and sends them all back and then blows up everything.
Yeah, I love like before the penguins are about to explode the penguin base,
Yeah.
like everyone just starts like piecing out.
Yeah, everyone's like, but yeah, everyone just leaves, all his henchmen.
Yeah, like they're like the clowns are cartwheeling away, and that woman
The
that
woman
like
with the
creepy,
dog just like fades into the shadows.
yeah,
It's like that Homer Simpson gif where
After
he goes into the
counting.
bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a weird.
9.
That's a very like Tim Burton
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. Well, at the end of it, all the humans leave him, but the penguins, because he's one of them, stay. And then they're weirdly pallbearers for him and then throw him into the water.
That's right. Oh my God.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. Another scene that's maybe too long.
Yeah.
I can dig it.
Well, Batman has the penguins explode, nade everything in the base.
Yeah, and we get kind of the final confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the penguin's pretty much beaten. How exactly does he die?
Well, he comes back. He dies, but then he comes back.
And then dies.
Back Shrek thing, and then he dies again.
So what does he like gets hurt in the explode? Oh yeah, he's trying to get away.
Yeah.
And he's like driving his duck thing, but like the bat boat crushes him.
Yeah.
But then how does he end up in the water?
He like goes down that little like penguin slide so they can slide into the water. His body after he like collapses.
Oh, but he's
Anyway.
not in the boat.
Well, once Penguin's done, then it becomes Batman, Catwoman, and her revenge on Max Shrek.
Yeah. And that's like kind of the real climax
Yeah.
of the movie.
And like I think it's a good action scene as well. And again, it a different movie. I think I would really like that angle with Catwoman, where she's out for revenge, isn't like a cat burglar. Or she could have been in like then still want revenge on somebody. But Batman can see that she's not a bad guy, you know what I mean? And is trying to like reason with her.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like all the major players of this movie are just like all really, they're varying degrees of damaged people.
Yeah. I think if the movie were to play a lot more of that up, I think it would be good. I think if the movie were or different, or, like I said, I can see it going in two different ways where they play up like those elements, and I think it could be really compelling, or they play up the really goofy elements, and I think I would really like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me it works.
If for you or anyone listening it works, that's fine. I don't think this is really a bad movie. It doesn't do much for me. Which is why I don't really, like I said, I haven't watched it in like 20 years. I'm probably not going to revisit it again anytime soon. Whereas like I like Batman 89. I also don't put that movie in super high regard. I know some people do. I think it's your favorite Batman movie, right, Kendall?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite Batman.
So like to me, it's a good movie. I like the movie, but to me, it's kind of like baseline Batman. Is the way I describe it. Where like it's kind of what I expect from a Batman movie, and then I compare things. Either I like things more than it, or I like things less than it. If that makes any sense.
I'm curious what you like more than that movie.
Well, I mean, in my other podcast, Level Up and Friends, we did a whole episode where we ranked all of the Batman movies at the time, which was pre the Batman. So if you guys want, we can always I can leave a link for that into the description. But because like my favorite, it's hard for me to pick a favorite Batman movie because like I have two different like flavors I like to go for. I'm not sure how the Batman fits into it. So it's either the Dark Knight / the Batman if I want a serious Batman movie, or Batman the movie if I just want to have fun.
Yeah,
it's just in the which depends which one I'm in the mood for. I think I've watched Batman the movie the most. If that makes any kind of clarification for anybody.
So I feel like Returns is, and I don't know how much this is true for like, deep comic book nerds, but I feel
Yeah.
like Returns is kind of up there on a lot of people's lists. And I feel like I didn't get it before, and now I do. I get it a
Yeah.
little more. I think this has, like, I don't know. It's all, I mean, all reasons I've already stated, but
Yeah.
like, I think Catwoman is so compelling in this.
And I will agree to disagree.
Yeah, she's just like a broken person.
And now that you've explained it to me, I get that perspective. I do not share that perspective. To be fair, I don't think there's been a lot of really compelling theatrical Catwomen. The Dark Knight Rises Catwoman's kind of lame. The Batman one's pretty good.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, but but there's been a lot of versions of Catwoman, and like there's been many versions of Catwoman I've enjoyed. But she's also not one of my favorite Batman villains. She's a little bit like the Joker and some other characters to me, where like they get used a lot and they kind of have like a handful of compelling stories that you're just kind of seeing iterations of, over and over again. And like that to me gets a little boring. I appreciate them trying to do something different. I do like when things are reinvented and are different from previous things I've seen in general. It's just sometimes it doesn't work for me, and that's fine. I just move on with my day.
How do you feel about Shrek firing Selena Kyle?
Oh, firing her and throwing her out the window?
No.
No. So at the end, when like, Catwoman and Batman are having like their like final heart to heart, and Batman rips off his mask, which Kayla, you wanted to say something about?
No, it just looks, I think like we all like know that rubber cowl was like really difficult to wear and to move in. And then when he rips it off, it just looks so stupid.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just have him take the whole fucking thing off?
Or just make a special version that could just come off for that scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it took so long for them to get superhero masks right. If you notice in the Raimi trilogy for Spider-Man, every time Peter takes his mask off, it's like there's a cut right before, because like the easily removable version of the mask is not a mask that would look good.
I mean,
Yeah, because in that, like, he's got a thing underneath between his face and the mask that like shapes it. Because otherwise, like, Spider-Man's mask in real life would like look terrible on a person.
But yeah, just very weird. It just like rips off. Yeah,
it looks bad.
And then he runs around with it like that for the end of the movie. It looks like he's wearing a neck brace. It was just a weird choice. Not that there's anything wrong with a neck brace, but I feel like he's trying to be like epic. It's very distracting.
Yeah. But yeah, when Max Shrek figures out that Catwoman is Selena Kyle, he's just like, Selena Kyle, you're fired. I just think it's so funny.
Yeah, the guy gave me like classic 80s Trump vibes, and like that's part of it. But I mean, I think that's kind of funny as like a thing. I was like, that didn't bother me one way or the other. It didn't enhance the scene at all, but like whatever.
And then when Penguin, so yeah, Catwoman, Selena uses her second to last life to electrocute herself and Max Shrek. Killing the two of them. Batman decides to leave. Everyone's dead except him. And then Penguin rises from the water. He's
Yeah.
fucking bleeding everywhere. And he's like sneaking up on Batman. And then Batman turns around and notices him, but he's like grabbed an umbrella. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
like he opens it and it's just like the Mobile one. He's like, oh shit, I grabbed a cute one. And then he just dies.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the six penguins act like pole bearers and kind of like walk alongside him and drag him into the water.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but
Yeah. But visually it's neat.
it is. And yeah, that's definitely what Burton goes for.
Yeah. So my opinion on Tim Burton's fluctuated a lot over the course of my life. When I was younger, he was one of my favorite directors, but like, especially in the 2000s onward, like he's made a lot of crappy movies. I think he's an interesting creator, but like he's very inconsistent in a way that's very frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with if you follow his career, it's his early stuff.
Yeah, his early stuff's his better stuff.
But like, once he became a very rich, successful, beloved director.
Yeah, it becomes like an art versus or an art from adversity. Like I think having limitations on certain creators does make better work.
Yeah, well, I just think he's like no longer the damaged, like
maybe
weirdo he once was. And like it's like once you're accepted, like how are you going to make like, not that any of this was ever like outsider art, but
like I mean he made stuff. I would say his first really big movie was Batman 89. Like I know Pee-wee was a hit before that, but like 89 like blew up. But like he still made movies after that I really enjoyed. I mean, we talked about Edward Scissorhands. The last movie he did that I really liked was Big Fish.
Yeah, Big Fish was good. Beetlejuice was great.
Did Beetlejuice come before or after Batman? Because it's also Michael Keaton.
I
think it was before. I think it's like a little bit before that.
Yeah, I think it's Pee-wee, Beetlejuice, Batman.
Yeah, I think so too.
Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns.
Can we also, I guess let's,
and then
put it that way, like what a strange choice for Batman to put in creative control then.
I'm sorry?
He's kind of a strange choice for Batman then at the time.
I mean, not that strange though. I don't think they were expecting that movie to be what it was.
They had to though, because I know they were trying to like replicate the success of Superman. I don't know. I've never read any interviews on why he got it. Just because, since this were the movies when we were kids, like I've just never thought about like, oh yeah, of course it'd be Tim Burton. Those movies were good. And people liked them.
Yeah, but
I'm just trying to think of like a big studio thing like that, they weren't no budget movies. Like you said, there wasn't outsider art he was making. Whereas like you can view Pee-wee Herman and Beetlejuice as like kind of strange. Like I wouldn't expect Beetlejuice to be a big hit, even though I think it had a decent budget because it had pretty good special effects,
Like, I mean, yeah. Tim Burton like was a Disney, like
he was like a Disney animator or storyboarder, right?
Yeah. Like it's not like he was nobody coming up making like indie flicks. But yeah, I don't know. I think not that he was like a huge success previously, but I think like Pee-wee and Beetlejuice both performed better than expected.
Yeah. Like I said, I never thought about it till just now, where we're going over like what he made right before that. Like, yeah, that's not who I would have expected them to tap for it.
I mean, I wish I knew like bigger directors of that time.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know who I would have expected them to do, but I mean, maybe he had he clearly had a vision for the movie, and maybe it just that's what they were looking for at the time, and they want to do that. Has he ever spoken like was he a big comic book guy?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if like he just had a love for
animation
Batman and like
nerd,
really
so
was
maybe?
pursuing it.
What's
I have
that?
no idea. I know Joel Schumacher didn't care. He was just work for hire in the sequels.
All right. Well,
We'll probably I think I've said all I'm going to say about Batman Returns, other than like that's a bad title.
huh. I think so yeah, the movie ends. Catwoman is sneaking around in the shadows, and
Yeah,
Bruce
she's
Wayne
presumed
finds
dead.
the
Batman
cat.
finds her. Bruce Wayne finds her cat and kind of takes it in. She
Yeah,
reveals to the audience that she's still alive, but the characters don't
not
know.
to him.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Batman 89 comic reads, but
It's good.
I'm very curious about how she is portrayed.
I kind of want to reread it again now that I've watched that. Like this movie's fresh in my mind. But I really liked. If you take it as the third Tim Burton Batman movie, I think it's my favorite one. And you know what? It kind of like she's in it, but she's not like one of the main characters, even though it's doing Robin and Two-Face. Like she shows up like issue 3 or 4, like she's like about halfway through it. So she's not like super duper involved, but I feel like she's more put together, for lack of a better term, versus this. But yeah, I kind of want to reread it. It's good. It's out in trade paperback now, if anyone's curious.
Can you get that at Level Up Entertainment?
You could. I don't think I have any at the moment because we're filming this the week before Christmas and everything's selling out. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, you guys got any other final thoughts?
No other final thoughts.
One thing I want to bring up, I don't think this is a very good Christmas movie.
I mean, Christmas is more of the backdrop.
Yeah. Like I think Die Hard has a stronger connection to Christmas.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a movie that I think you can just watch whenever you want.
Yeah. I get a winter vibe from it more than a Christmas vibe.
Yeah.
Like it definitely, like when you watch it, like the city does feel cold, even though it's clearly like a set with like set snow,
Yeah.
like remnants.
Yeah. I don't know. I think watching this movie with a more analytical eye, I like it more than I ever have.
Okay. I would call this a divisive movie. I'm pretty, that's the vibe I get from like the general fandom. It's divisive, but people generally seem to like it. I guess that's also comparing it to like people really hate the sequels.
Forever is just who I can't say, or I will say, I'm happy Catwoman doesn't come back in any of the other movies.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Because it's just like, what is she gonna do?
Well, those movies they already have the problem of too many characters, and then like big bloated budgets. So like you'd have to pay Michelle Pfeiffer to show up, and she might have also been like, I don't want to be involved. Like might have read the script and be like, this sucks.
I mean, just there's nothing else. There's nowhere else for that character to go. I kind of don't even like that she's there in costume at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I think like a good conclusion for her is she just is gone.
Yeah, I forget exactly. Like I read Batman 89's trade not too long ago, in the sense that it was like this summer. But like she does get involved in the plot, but like it's a smaller part.
Yeah, and I mean, it had been so long since you watched this movie.
Yeah, I'd forgotten big elements of her. That like it didn't really. It felt like I didn't need to know in too much detail about the Batman Returns version of her when I read the comic. But yeah, so I think that's going to do us for this episode, right?
Yeah. Kayla already left.
Yeah, she went to bed.
No, well,
Well,
we got some work to do.
Yeah. This is like feature length episode.
Yeah. This did go on for a while. I'm very sorry. But thank you for taking up editing duties for this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get this edited in the next day. We're gonna take the last week in December off from the podcast. Just the holidays, it's kind of hard to get together and with our schedules and stuff, but we'll return in the new year. But thank you for listening if you still are. Hopefully this was enlightening for you. Like, we don't always see eye to eye on these things, but we are friends, and part of what makes these kinds of things interesting is just if we all agreed, like, it wouldn't be fun to talk about these things.
Yeah. I was excited to talk about this one because I could sense Kayla while we were watching it was, she was very vocal about like not enjoying certain aspects.
Yeah.
And
I am glad we got a female perspective on this portrayal of Catwoman.
Yeah, me too. And yeah, maybe we should make an effort to get a female perspective on Catwoman when she inevitably shows up in our proper series.
Yeah, and I know if you're listening to these in release order, when a villain usually shows up, we talk about our history with them. We're saving Catwoman for the Catwoman episode. But I am looking forward to when Catwoman shows up in 66. They already teased her. The mystique is there.
Yeah. Probably the only one who got teased.
Yeah, I doubt we're going to get much more of that. But we'll see. I'm relatively excited for the next episode of that since we're doing Mad Hatter. Because I was trepidatious for Zelda the Great, but I ended up really enjoying that. So,
yeah.
Mad Hatter is not a character I'd be particularly excited for, but like, hey, maybe it'll be a fun take on him.
I mean, there are. I mean, we'll save it for the Mad Hatter episode, but there's at least one story I really like with him.
Yeah, we'll save it for that. Hopefully, that's enough of a tease. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Whatever you're celebrating or not celebrating is fine. But yeah, I guess we'll see you guys in 2023.
Yeah, catch us back here. Same bat time, same bat channel.